Good evening, everybody. Welcome to FPL BlackBox ahead of Gameweek 17 and the final FPL BlackBox before Christmas and probably the New Year, Mark.
Yeah, we should have Christmas jumpers and snow in the background.
I've got a Christmas... Look,
oh, right,
I'm in one.
Yeah, I guess that qualifies.
Didn't get the memo.
I didn't notice. No, sorry. The only one I've got is an Arsenal one because that was the one I had to buy for the FPL show because I had to have a Premier League club.
Whoa. You didn't have to buy it. We got given them.
Right.
I was given this one, the same.
Yeah, they said, what club do you want? And obviously at the time, Forest weren't in the Premier League, so I had to choose
you had
Arsenal.
to pick a Premier League club, didn't you? I remember it. That's probably about 4 or 5 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Ages ago.
Yeah, ages ago, 6, 7 years ago.
Time flies.
Yeah, indeed. So I've only got one football-related Christmas jumper, which is an Arsenal one. So I can't wear that anymore.
You can see the sleeve on this one is kind of hanging by a thread. I've had it a
while. Be careful, because that might be like the Brighton defence and come unravelled really easily. So just be careful.
We just not talk about that game at all today? Because that would be great.
Welcome to Black Box. We got lots to talk about tonight because actually there's a dilemma in every position, apart from in goalkeepers. But in defence, we're going to talk about Robinson and replacements for Aït-Nouri. In midfield, we're going to talk about Diallo, replacement for Boomer and Rodgers maybe. And then up front, we got the Cunha situation to talk about as well. We are going Christmas shopping and looking at those three positions.
That's a good title. It was. We were trying to think of a pun, weren't we? And then we couldn't think of one, so we just went with we haven't really jazzed up Diallo very much though. He's very plain. We should have maybe put some tinsel around him or something.
Oh, I don't like all that cheesy stuff. I really don't.
You spent half an hour trying to get a table which you couldn't even get working.
Yeah, I was trying to get some extra data in. I failed miserably because the query's broken. It's going to take me longer, but we'll get to that later. We got plenty to go through. Don't worry. So I guess we'll start with our sponsor for the show. Then, do you want to talk about Sleeper now, or do you want to talk about Sleeper later?
Well, we can briefly mention Sleeper now, but we will talk about them later.
Okay.
But yeah, Sleeper's a sponsor of this week's FPL BlackBox, as always. If you're familiar with them, get involved in the prediction league. Just right now. Do you know what? If you're listening right now and you've got the football in the background, give that QR code on the screen a zap. Check the link in the description. Get involved in the BlackBox Pick'em League. Not only can you win some great prizes, you're supporting the stream because they're a great sponsor for us. And £500 worth of prizes every month to be won.
I adjusted my chair earlier, and now my back's killing me, and I can't adjust it back to where it was. So I'm going to be crippled by the end of this. By the end of this 2 hours. That's what happens.
Hard life in your
£600
secret lab chair, isn't it?
I've adjusted it, and I can't adjust it back to normality. Talking of pain, let's talk about our game weeks. Actually, both green arrows, no agony at all, really. As 68 points took us through it.
No, I'm happy. It's a good week. A very good week. I did match a day challenge with Yelena at the spa.
That was entertaining.
Which she vlogged. So do check that out if you're a fan of the match of the day streams that you and I do, because every match of the day stream I've ever done has involved some kind of pain for the person I'm doing it with, and I still remain relatively unscathed from these. But yeah, it was Raya in goal and Gabriel. Both getting a clean sheet. Gabriel in the starting 11, which I was happy about, and with the 3 bonus. Hall, he was the big winner of this week with 15 points and a completely non-contentious assist. Don't know what everyone's complaining about. Clearly,
should we just touch on that,
man?
Because I did a lot of posting about it because there was a lot of controversy, but I just don't know what other decision you could give for that. Because
I don't understand the controversy for it. I saw it straight away, and I was like, "That's interesting."
Yeah, I know, because you actually did the Match of the Day challenge, then watched it on Match of the Day, and it was interesting to see what you said, because you said, well, exactly what my point was. Well, he's actually
biased.
the only one. But it is by the rule. Isak was the only one he could have been aiming for. It was just, I reckon, it's just a rubbish cross that got. That ended up right on Isak's head, obviously.
I just think he was obviously trying to play it into at least that space or where Isak was. Like I can't see any other. I mean, you know my feelings on that rule. I hate the subjective intended target. If it was up to me, I would just give an assist to every player who gets the last touch before the goal goes in. You disagree with that somewhat. You've got a slightly different take on it. Although I think the one we've been talking about this a fair bit. I think any change to that rule would be good. But yeah, I thought that one, by the rules of the game and even by my rule, whatever rule you want in FPL, surely that's an assist. Like, you don't want that to be chalked over. I know it's not always you know, we can say they're not consistent with the rules, but surely no one is saying that shouldn't be an assist.
Well, people who don't own... I mean, like, people say you're biased because you own Hall, but people who don't own Hall are also biased, aren't they? So there's bias whichever way you look at it. Basically, the fancy assist is there to reward positive actions. Hall was clipping it into the box, and it led to the goal, so should he be rewarded? I think so. If you can't find a reason to take it off him, I couldn't see a reason to take it off him, because you could say he was aiming for Tonali, but that was a real stretch because Tonali did check his run. It's possible he could have been aiming for him. I don't see it though. I think he was just clipping it, a general clip into the 6-yard box, hoping for the best. And
I mean, you're never going to know, are you? So you've got to give the benefit of the doubt to give it. Surely we don't want it like VAR where they're looking for any excuse to disallow a goal. We don't want them any excuse to disallow an assist. We want points. And okay, if you haven't got him, it hurts, but you know, next time it could be your player, and then you'll be crying. So
yeah, and people pointed to inconsistencies, but they weren't. The Premier League did a really good article going over some of the most recent fancy assist awards. It's the first time I think they've done that, and they really should do that more, because it does really help to explain the rules. And I don't think anyone could argue with their explanations. It's just whether or not you agree with the fancy assist or not.
Yeah,
which some people don't, some people do. I saw the goal last night that Tonali scored in the League Cup. That was the exact. You know, when you say it should just be the last touch from an attacker, regardless. Well, last night's Tonali goal, there was a cross thrown in. The defender kind of did a foul clearance to the edge of the box, and Tonali smashed it in. And that, I don't think you can give an assist for that, because the defenders cleared it about 20 yards out of the box, and then Tonali scored. Under your kind of proposal of, well, just award the last touch an attacker makes, that would be an assist. But that's my point. I don't think you can give it for that, because then you're getting into the realms of, well, the ball's gone 30 yards before it's been smashed back in the goal. So
I guess you've also...
There's no easy solution.
There isn't, but I mean, you've also got players who give the ball on the halfway line to a player who skins 3 players and smashes it in, and that's as much of an assist as a cross that's been headed out, because at least that's had to be dealt with. Even if it's been dealt with badly, at least it's had to be dealt with, and then it's led to a goal. I don't know. I'd give them all. Give them all.
I don't know.
More points.
The debate will roll on, and I'm sure that the fancy assist rule, it will hopefully be explained more regularly by the Premier League, and that will help people get hold of the rules. Anyway, Hall 15. Let's get to 8 Norway.
Can we just skirt over 8 Norway? It was funny because my biggest decision this week was playing 8 Norway or leave Davis, because I knew that Wolves are very weak to set pieces. In the end, that was their undoing. They conceded to a last minute set piece taken by Clark, of all people, rather than Davis. And it actually would have been better to have played Leaf, even though he blanked, because after the final whistle, Aiden already got sent off. And it was funny because I was watching Match of the Day, obviously with Yels, and we saw him get the booking. And normally when they show that on Match of the Day, you think, now why are they showing a booking for a player? That's a bit suspect. And then Yels was like, no, it's because it's his 5th booking. So it makes sense that they'd show it, because then you realise he's out for the next game. And I was like, oh, that does make a little bit of sense. No, turns out he did get sent off after the final whistle. I mean, it was a chaotic end to that game, wasn't it? They went absolutely... Man, they lost their heads completely.
Yeah, and obviously we're going to talk about Cunha later as well, who obviously faces FA action. We don't know. As we sit here now on Thursday evening, 8:30 just gone, we don't know if the appeal's gone in or there's been no appeal, and when a ban's going to hit. So at the moment...
What do you reckon?
I think they're in two minds whether to appeal, because for them it'll be, well, we need him against Leicester, but if we appeal and the ban gets lengthened, we get him out for longer. Can we beat Leicester without him? I mean, there'll be all kinds of things that the Wolves will be debating, I expect. I don't think they're going to appeal. I've got a feeling that they'll...
So do you think if they don't appeal, he gets an immediate ban?
Well, I think in all fairness, he should do, because Leicester will say, why did he play that game if not, right? So it's a very difficult situation with the Premier League, because if they're slow reacting to it, because there's a lot of games over this period... Say they take 3 weeks to get the ban sorted, he's going to play 4 Premier League games or 5 Premier League games in that spell.
Yeah.
That's not really fair, is it, to the teams who are also down there? So if you're Leicester, Southampton or any of those teams, you're going, get it done and get him banned so he misses the Christmas period. So I don't know what Wolves will do. It's really interesting. But obviously the fact that nothing's come out today would suggest that that perhaps they're still thinking about. Oh, well, the deadline was today, wasn't it? So, don't know. It's strange that we've heard nothing, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought we'd get something today,
Yeah.
but we haven't. I mean, obviously there was the article on Scout, another obviously great partner of the show. Neil and Mark wrote an article about previous bans, looking at Kudus. He had until the 24th of October to respond. Decision made 6th of November. So that obviously came later. He was already banned, but the extra decision came a bit later. Gibbs White, abuse towards a match official response deadline 27th of December. Decision made Friday the 18th of October. Did you appeal that one? Do you remember?
No, I think we appealed Nuno's, but not that one.
Okay, so that was nearly a month until he got extra punishment on that later on. Jack Stevens, 19th of September, decision made 1st of October. Again, that was abuse towards a match official. And then Bentancur was obviously a bit different because it was the racial slur. That took nearly 2 months for that to come in. My take on this is they have a history of delaying these kinds of decisions. I would be very, very, very surprised if he wasn't able to play Leicester.
So would I. And, I haven't made a transfer because of that. But if you're Southampton, Leicester, all those teams down there,
fuming.
You're angry that basically he's
Completely
got to play 4 or 5 league games. Because the thing is, he's, we lost Gibbs White, big player. Bentancur, fairly big player for Spurs. Cunha, we're talking, they either win games or they lose them with or without him, don't they? He's so vital to them that this is not a secondary player. This is not a player he's a match winner. He's the difference between them winning 6 or 9 points over the next 5 games or getting nothing.
And it's not contentious. Like, he's on film grabbing someone's glasses, hitting someone in the back of the head. Like, there's TV. We all know he's guilty of it. There's no real decision to be made, right? It's just the length of the ban, not whether he did it.
Yeah,
but I just don't think they'll act in time for Sunday. I think he gets Leicester. I'd be very surprised.
I think he gets Leicester. Yeah, and you've got to think that because of the Christmas period, it will take longer, and it won't be till January that they decide. But we'll see. It's really interesting. And right now we're holding, but we will look at players to get in for Cunha as alternatives. Right, where were you? Midfield.
Midfield, yeah. So I was absolutely laughing when Salah only got the assist because I had Palmer to go, who then blanked with just 6 points. Although I did get a random bonus point kind of out of nowhere on the Monday. Monday night was quite kind to me. Jackson went up to 3 bonus and Palmer getting a bonus, which was nice. Saka with another blank. That's a couple of blanks now in a row for him. Those with triple Arsenal defence are laughing. And Semenyo, who I bought in last week, has been a complete disaster. I think he has 1 goal in like Bournemouth's last 19 goals or something stupid, even though he's got good underlying stats. He's been a bit of a nightmare. And then a front three of Jackson, Solanke and Cunha all got returns, but I was a little bit disappointed with Solanke only getting 1 assist in a 5-0 spanking of Southampton. And I feel like I'm just stuck with him like a lingering fart. I can't seem to get rid of him.
Score tonight.
I know, and he scores in the cups, and I don't really know what to do with him. So as of now, he stays, but 1 assist in 5 ain't great.
No, it's typical what we've seen, isn't it? Like, he contributes, but not enough in a heavy win for Spurs. And when that game went to 3 or 4-0 early on, I was like, what is this going to be? And then typically, obviously, they took their foot off the gas second half. Son went off at half time.
Not a single goal.
And it just ran out, didn't it? Yeah, that's what happens in those games, though, isn't it? It's funny, though, because we were always saying, weren't we, when we're about Spurs assets, well, they'll just keep going forward. They'll keep scoring goals. And they did to an extent, but they showed mercy in the second half. So you didn't get a haul from him, even though you must have thought sitting there at 5-0 at half time, you thought there's more to come. But
I'm thankful for the assist. I think the assist was pretty.
No, that wasn't. It was a block shot.
Odd.
No, it was a block shot. He definitely got a shot in. So Howard Bellis blocked it at source, basically, but it was an assist.
It was a slightly fortuitous assist, but I will take it.
Yeah. No doubt. As was Hall.
I mean, I still can't. I know Jackson came away with 9 points, but I still can't believe that miss. That did the miss. I mean, if you haven't seen his miss and you're watching this, just go watch Jackson's miss.
Over the bar.
For God's sake, it's literally just straight in, tap in. How do you hit that over the bar? But he did make up for it, and I am very glad. Obviously, I haven't got Isak. He's the He's the one I fear every week. But I think with Jackson, I've got someone who a few people don't have, and I think they'll also be fearing him. So he's all right.
Indeed.
He did enough.
He did enough for you, absolutely. 75 points for me, Green Arrow. Oh, that's... I need
that's
to adjust
a big
that.
week. I had a good week, and I was like, "Oh, this is good."
Yeah,
I might catch up on Mark a little bit here. And 75. You're about 25 points ahead of me at one point this week.
Yeah, no, pleased with it. Into 600k, which is a decent, respectable rank. I was trying to get into the top million for Christmas, and could have a chance of getting 500,000 by Boxing Day. We'll see. Flecken 3, Timber 6, Gabriel got the bonus to give him 9. Lewis Hall with the very fortunate second assist, but did play well. Did deserve
That
a
should have
Hall.
been Dean.
Saka 3, Palmer with the 6, just like as said. We got the extra bonus point on Monday, presumably from key passes being a factor there. Palmer's a BPS darling, of course. Salah 5, Gordon got me an assist. Disappointed with that because he played really well and he could have got more. And I'm down on the deal because it was in Mbumo to Gordon, but I still fancy Gordon over this one. Cunha 9, Isaac 11, did very well, of course, and then Evan Nilsson disappointing on Monday night. I wanted something from him. He looked lively again, but it's one returning 4, I think. Beginning to be a little bit concerned about Evan Nilsson, even with the fixtures, but we'll look at him and other strikers versus Cunha as replacements later on. 75, yeah. My second highest game week rank of the season. So, yeah, all right. The hits have paid off, really, I've got to say, because I started taking hits around game week 13, and that enabled me to get Palmer, Saka, Isaac, Hall, Davis and Lewis in, and Evan Nilsson. So I think all those players have come in recently, and I've taken 16 points in hits over that spell. But since game week 13, I've gained 1 million in rank, almost 1 million in rank. So even though I've taken a minus 16, it's meant I've moved for players, got my team where I wanted it to be, and it's paid off. So I think that was the right thing to do. I think people are more reluctant to take hits with the rolling transfers, but I think that if you look at your team and you're trying to get players in for long term, and that's how I saw it, Palmer, Saka, Isaac, these are players that I'm probably going to hold for long term. It was probably worth me taking hits to get them in and to afford them. And fortunately, some of the players I got in, Kirkes, Davis, Hall, some of them have come off. Hall definitely has. Davis and Kirkes, not quite. No, not quite. So, they're budget players, but they can make a difference if you get lucky. I mean, I nearly played Kirkes over Hall this week. It was quite close. But I just went with the home. Yeah. They both had home fixtures. Yeah, it would have been terrible, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
There wasn't much in it in terms of EV. It was like 0.5, maybe 0.4. But I stuck to Hall because Leicester, I guess, away from home. We hadn't seen Ruud van Nistelrooy's side away from home. We'd seen them at home, and they looked like they could show plenty going forward. I was surprised Bonanotte didn't go straight back in the team as well, because he's been brilliant for them, and yet he left him on the bench. So that was surprising. And Hall got the clean sheet, so I was very pleased that I made that tight call. Bit fortunate, maybe. Let's have a look at the game week review. Now, some of these players we're going to look at throughout the show anyway. Lewis Hall we've already touched on with the 15. Sarr we're going to look at along with Diallo when it comes to looking at midfielders.
Absolutely ruined us.
He really did. Excellent performance by Palace, wasn't it?
Mm. Oh, you pause to let me talk about Palace, do you?
Yeah.
I see how it is. Yeah, they were good. We were awful. It was a combination of both. I think I've never liked João Pedro as a 9. I've always said he needs to play as the 10 with a striker to link up with. I think that's the reason why we did so well in the early stages. Him and Welbeck linked up really well. We're really missing Welbeck. He just leads the line so well. He's such an underrated player. Ferguson just seems to have lost some of that Space Jam youthful exuberance that he had last season. I don't really know what Hertzler does with him. Like he said, he's not going to go out on loan, but now there's links with Fulham to going out on loan. I don't really see how he can keep him around if he's not going to play him when Welbeck's out. Like, what's the point? It's not working with Pedro as the 9. So, yeah, it's disappointing. We're disappointing in attack. We've got injuries in defence. Veltman's been our best defender. He's been out. Verbruggen's making mistakes. we're still playing suicidal defending at times, and Palace have been on the up. They were struggling as well just a few weeks ago, but they look a completely different side now. They've got the wing backs are playing well. They've got a really good front three at the moment. They've got players they can bring off the bench. The midfield looks strong. Yeah, and they're going into a really good run of games. So good time to be investing in Palace. And, well, maybe not this week because obviously they've got Arsenal, but from there. And Sarr looks, I think, a really, really good option.
Yeah, I mean, he looked really powerful, didn't he? He's really settled in now. He's taken his time to get back up to speed with the Premier League. We've seen him before with Watford and he was effective in that season. Didn't start too well, but now he's settled in the front three. Marteta's back in the side. Eddie's been relegated to the bench. Got a good goal last night, but he is now not in that first front three. So Eze, Sarr with Mateta in the middle looks potent, doesn't it? And you're absolutely right. If we look at the fixtures, okay, next two we're not going there. Arsenal, Bournemouth away, 2 tough games. But then you look at the run that they've got for over the next 10, and they're third in this ticker, which is graded by difficulty over the next 12. So from 19 onwards, it starts with Southampton at home, Chelsea at home, Leicester away, West Ham away, Brentford at home, United away, Everton at home. It's a great run, right? Up to Gameweek 28. I'm very interested in Palace. We're going to talk about Munoz later. Going back to Sarlo, there's a lot of talk about Diallo. He's the poster boy. He's the most transferred in. And we're going to look at the comparison there. But just briefly on Sarr, are you surprised not more people are looking at him?
Not really, because Palace have been poor for a while. He hasn't really delivered in the early parts of the season. There's been some question marks about his role in the team and things like that. And the fixtures haven't been great. I think what we kind of didn't... Because his underlying stats have been good for a while. He's had a couple of, I think XGIs of 0.8 or something, maybe even higher, in about 3 games this season, but not got any returns. So what you want is for those to keep churning away, then, for him to come good when the fixtures turn, not before we're considering him. Because now I think going into that run, he's going to be a lot more popular. The 5 million assets, with Enzo, with Ahmad as well, with Rodgers, obviously still really popular. There's a lot of people out there still with Smith Rowe, with Semenyo. There is a lot of competition in that bracket. It's hard to know exactly which one is the best. I was all on Ahmad tonight.
Yeah, we're going to go straight into that later, so let's not dig into it now. But yeah, we're actually going to look at Rodgers' replacements because I think a lot of people are getting impatient on Rodgers. I can understand it. When we look at the data later, you'll see why. So we're going to touch on Diallo. We're going to touch on Sarr. Not on Jacob Murphy, who had a really good game, 4-9. I've got Gordon, and I'm thinking, could I have actually gone a bit cheaper? Murphy seems to have nailed down that right side. There's no way Almiron's going to start ahead of him. Doesn't look as though Barnes is going to be a factor in that. So for once on this show, we're not saying Harvey Barnes is a threat to anyone's start. What do you make of Murphy? We've been flirting with him in previous seasons, but Newcastle seem to be picking up now. Should I have gone him over Gordon?
No, I don't think there's any. There's no doubt in my mind that Gordon is the safer and better pick in that team. Gordon was... I know, obviously, Murphy got the 2 goals, but Gordon was brilliant, I thought, in that game against Leicester. He was everywhere. He looked back to how he was last season when he was just scoring points for fun. The problem with Murphy is you're just always going to be worried about him, aren't you, every week? You're going to be worried, A, that he starts, and then you're going to be worried if there's any kind of, problem that Newcastle have, which has happened quite a lot this season. They've struggled in some away games. They've looked quite poor. He's just the first casualty every time that's going to come off if he's struggling, because they've got options that they can bring on in his place.
They can play Joe Linton out there as well and play the extra midfielder. So that's the option away from home as well, as Gordon's nailed on. But yeah, I haven't put him in the comparison later on, but I just thought he stands out in this table, obviously, with the 13 points. Isak 1.65, the highest XGI non-penalty on show here. Then Jackson 1.14. We mentioned Jackson earlier. Those two, in a world where Haaland's making way in a lot of our teams, those two really are doing a job for us, aren't they?
Yeah, Isak is horrible to watch. I said it on the stream I did the other day. I knew it was going to be bad watching those highlights without Isak and not knowing what the score was, and it was so much worse than you could imagine. I compare him to Solanke in the sense that when I watch Spurs play, Solanke is just such foil to the team. And, that isn't like amazing analysis no one else has done. Everyone knows that Solanke's in that team to get the best out of the players. But sometimes it looks like they're not even looking to get him the ball. Like he's happy just to get the ball, lay it off to one of the players, and they're going to do some individual brilliance and kind of set the goal up. With Isak, it's like lay off the ball and then into the box. How do we get the ball back to him at almost every opportunity? Or he's just going to create something himself and dribble past 3 players and create, a chance for someone else like he did for Murphy, or just get on the end of crosses. He just looks so much more involved in the dangerous areas. It's horrible not owning him. I just wonder if I'm just a little bit late to it now. Like he's probably going up to 8-8 tonight.
It's going up tonight according to Ragaboli and Live FPL.
3 away games in 4 as well, plus the fixture schedule, given that he's had his injury problems. I just think maybe I can wait till 21, but he's going to be like 9-5 by then.
I think the data I'm going to show later might worry you if you're not going with him, because
I don't need to see more data that's going to worry. I'm already worried.
It's pretty dominant. Milenkovic.
But I have got
boy.
Jackson, and
yes,
Jackson does. Yeah. Jackson does at least help a little bit with that. But
well, he'll be on the comparison, so you can see how they measure up. Milenkovic, 2 goals in 2 game weeks. The pain that brought Jelena was agony to watch, but you weren't very sympathetic. You seem to be quite enjoying that moment.
Just a classic match of the day challenge moment, wasn't it? Wood's goal gets disallowed, and next highlight is Milenkovic scoring on a bench. Like it's just you can't write it, can you? Like it's just pure pain, all condensed into like 30 seconds, and then punching you in the face. Amazing.
I think that people were asking me early season which Forest defender to go to if you haven't got Sells. Since Elliot Anderson's come back into the team and started to take the set pieces, there's no question it has to be Milenkovic now, because Anderson's delivery is so good. I mean, he's on this chart. Look where Anderson is here, 0.67 XGI non-penalty. 4 chances created, 6 shot involvements. He's not a fancy asset in himself, but he's definitely a kind of false multiplier on the likes of Milenkovic because of his ability at dead balls. And suddenly we look really dangerous at set plays now, because Murillo should have scored in the first half from a corner and headed wide. Then Milenkovic did in the second half, of course, not from a set play, but from a second phase of a set play. Yeah. It's good. And with Brentford, maybe without Pinnock at the weekend, I think we've got the chance to cause them a few issues at set pieces. So don't bench Milenkovic is probably the best advice I can give you. I thought when Ward-Prowse came in, I thought he might unlock him, but Ward-Prowse isn't starting. But I think maybe Ward-Prowse is helping Anderson on the training pitch, because Anderson's delivery is really good at the moment. So the only last question on this table is Maddison when? Basically. Are we not at all?
Yeah.
Because what is he now? 5th in the FPL scoring table altogether?
It's bizarre.
But we're not going anywhere near him still, are we?
I mean, I'm the biggest Maddison fanboy there is, and I've got to be honest, he's not even remotely in my thinking. Against Chelsea, he was benched. He's just so in and out of the team, isn't he? And with Kulusevski playing the way he is, and Brennan Johnson on the right, it's very hard for him to fit all of these players in. I don't know. I mean, he's got Liverpool next. He's got Nottingham Forest away. Does he play both of those games? Or does Postecoglou go with a bit more control? Does he play Arsenal away in 21? I just want players who I just know are going to start at this point. And although Solanke is driving me mad, at least he's going to get 90 each week. So, I don't know. I'm just not convinced. It's
just X-Mins, isn't it, with him?
Purely, yeah.
I mean, Johnson's the same now. Was an asset and was someone to look at, but he's not playing tonight. Maddison is. But you're right. I think that with the options he's got, like he can play Basuma and Sarr, or he can drop one of those holding mids and play both his 10s and then Johnson out wide. I presume tonight he's playing Kulusevski out on the right by the look of the team, because Johnson's on the bench. So when he played Kulusevski at City on the right and it worked really well, we thought it might spell trouble for Johnson. And open the way for Maddison, and that's exactly what it's done. But when Johnson comes back in, I think it's going to be it's going to be Kulusevski over Maddison. So Maddison then makes way when he has to play the 2 holding midfielders.
Yeah.
So that makes Maddison is a lovely asset. If we were certain he would play, then perhaps he would be in the equation, but he's not. He's not, even though he's scoring.
Yeah, and
so well.
I just don't think the fixtures are good enough. Like if he had like Leicester, Ipswich, Wolves, some really, really like great teams over the next 6, you could almost just play him and just, take the points when he starts. But I mean, there's some tricky games there. Liverpool, Forest, Newcastle, Arsenal, all in the next.
Even Wolves with the
5.
new manager bounce, right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. They'll score goals in those, but yeah, it's hard to know who to get. Okay. I think the answer's probably none.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many options in that bracket as well. 7-6 midfielders. I've talked about Gordon already, but there's other options there. If you come down, obviously you can stay on Mboma, of course. We've talked about Sarr, and we're going to look at many others later. So, although he's doing so well this season, the midfield slots are so precious that you've got to go for a certain starter, and Maddison just isn't that at the moment. So, yeah, I see it. Let's look at last 6 defence. Interesting here that Everton are second. They're, it's crazy. If you look over the season, Everton were down
third. Has blown my mind as well.
Everton 8th, 1.30 over the season. XG conceded non-penalty per 90. If you look at the last 6, they're up to second, 0.96. Pickford and the likes of Ashley Young have been big beneficiaries of that form. Wolves, I had to check this. And the reason why they're third is because it's non-penalty. XG conceded non-penalty per 90, 0.97. They've conceded in the last 6 3 own goals and 4 penalties, I think it is. So that's why. They conceded 3 penalties in one game against Bournemouth. Now it's 3 own goals, 3 penalties. So that's impacted the XG conceded. So actually, from open play, they haven't been that bad. But from set pieces, they're obviously very, very fragile. It's a bit like Forest last season. If you remember, Forest had good defensive data, but were not keeping clean sheets. And that's really because of the set piece frailty. And that's the same for Wolves. But it is interesting seeing them there because, of course, today they've announced the new manager, Vitor Pereira.
That picture.
Ooh. Yeah, that's the tweet. And I've done a bit of research on him. Very much sounds like Nuno Part 2 or version 2 or Mark 2 or whatever you want to say. From what I've read, he had dominant teams in Porto, Fenerbahce and Olympiacos. And with those teams, he played possession and differently. But everyone expecting him to arrive and play, give up possession, adapt his team to the opponent, play counter-attacking football, and play free at the back, very much like Nuno did for Wolves back in the day. And I do think there's something in that. Actually, Wolves have looked at it and gone, let's go back to that Nuno style that did us so well. And obviously the Portuguese link as well. Mendes is probably still associated with the club, etc. A lot of the players have that language. So it's a common theme for Wolves, isn't it, to go that route with their players and now their manager. He's a bit of a crazy individual compared to Nuno. Nuno's very calm, but what I've heard about this guy, he's got a bit more of a temperament.
Oh, that's just what they need at the moment. Bit of chaos, yeah.
But given that data and the fact that, his first mission will be to make them more solid at set plays and defensively. And if they are going to play on the counter, you can presume he's going to go, free at the back, win backs. How long are we going to be before we start looking at 8-0 again off the new manager bounce and that wing back system? God. Do you not think?
I don't know if I can go through that again. All the zeros and yeah. The thing is, I know those stats are good, but you watch that Ipswich game. I mean, it's comical defending. Like, it's actually comical. Like, there doesn't seem to be any awareness at all of where the defenders are. There's no structure. There's nothing. And I mean, I guess you can blame O'Neill for that, but a lot of these are experienced heads, experienced players. They should have been performing better. So does Pereira come in and just get them more organised and more structured within quite a short space of time? I mean, they can't be any worse. They literally can't be any worse to watch defensively. They look so easy to play against, like, every time you watch them play. So yeah, I mean, he will be tasked with that. I mean, these underlying stats are. I still can't quite believe these stats.
They're right, because I checked them. 1.83 big chances per 90. So they're not the it's not calamity at the back by any means, but they're playing Semedo centre back and players out of position. But there's something to work with there, I think. I I don't know. I think I read an article today saying we're going to see one extreme or the other. It'll either be a new manager bounce,
Yeah.
or it'll be an absolute disaster. It won't be anywhere in middle ground because he will bang heads together apparently. So it's going to be a really interesting watch because he's gone straight in. He's on the training pitch today apparently, and he'll be. The Leicester game is absolutely vital, isn't it?
Yeah. It's annoying about Cunha because I'd happily just keep him. I didn't really have any plans to sell him. I know a lot of people would have jumped off as the fixtures were turning, but I rate him so highly as a player, and new manager bounce, and I mean they've got good attackers in that side. I just thought that'd be quite like a nice easy hold. And obviously now I've got to deal with that. You've got to worry about them without Cunha as well, right? And if they're clearly a bunch that gets frustrated, if they're frustrated in attack and they concede the goal, their heads could just completely go. It's a big job for them. I cannot see how Wolves stay up this season. Personally,
well they got Wang coming back as well, so he could replace Cunha for a while. Yeah, I mean, Connor Richardson saying their fixtures are awful. If you look at the ticker, this is why the Leicester game is so important, because after that, the run is absolutely shocking because it's United at home. Okay, they might be able to get something out of that. Then it's Spurs away. Then it's Forest at home, a team you don't really want to play at Molineux. I mean, I'd fancy us to take at least a point off them. Newcastle away, Chelsea away, Arsenal at home, Villa at home, Liverpool. I mean, that's is absolutely shocking, isn't it? It's basically a mirror of their start to the season. Their fixtures just go from one extreme to another. And they've just coming out of their good run, and they haven't maximised it at all. And now they're going into the tough spell again.
They'll score goals, I think, during this run. I think like I said, I think they've got decent players. Obviously, Cunha's ban is going to hurt. I wonder how many games he'll get. I imagine he'll probably get about like an 8 or 10 game ban. So he'll be back ready for the start of the next batch of good fixtures, probably. If we can all load up on him then.
Yeah,
there's no clean sheets here.
No, probably not. It's only if Aït-Nouri really does sparkle as a wing back, which is possible.
I'm saying it now. I'm done with him. If I go back to him, give me a slap.
I've seen so many people say that over this period. I mean, to get a -2 after the whistle's gone is.
There's just some players who are just cursed, and it doesn't matter how good the stats are or how good the team is. You just don't pick them, and he's one of them.
Just want to draw attention to the Bournemouth defence because they're fourth here over the last 6, 1.06, and even if you go back over the season, they're fifth, 1.23. And when we look at the attacking data, they're really high in that as well. It's interesting because everyone's piling on Diallo. And obviously the next fixture for Diallo and United after tonight is Bournemouth at home. Yes, they've got Wolves away in 18, which could be very profitable for Diallo if he plays, because obviously minutes aren't absolutely nailed on for him. There are options there, although less so if Rashford's out of favour with Amorim, of course. Newcastle, Liverpool, Southampton. So over the next 4, these aren't great fixtures, which do give me reason for pause on Diallo. We're going to talk about him later, but where do you sit on, without looking at data, where do you sit on Amad Diallo at the moment?
Well, I've been impressed. I think he's been the stand-up player in, since Amorim's come in. I think that much is obvious, him and Fernandes, but Fernandes is obviously playing in a bit of a deeper role. If Diallo is going to play effectively as the 10 in this system, then he is, I think, the best asset at 6 million or under for us, because that is a very, prominent position for someone so cheap who's already got a history of delivering good returns. So I like that for him. United are losing again tonight, 2-0 to Spurs. I know they beat City, but anyone can beat City at the moment. It's not even that big a accomplishment these days. And results really have been pretty poor. They're still taking a while to adjust to his system. He's banished Rashford and Garnacho, which is fine if he doesn't see a future for them. But again, we talk around players hanging around like a bad smell. You kind of feel like in some ways they are. I think particularly Rashford, who's come out and said he wants to leave. Like when you've got a player like that in the dressing room who is actively wanting out, it's never a good atmosphere to be around a player like that. And he's already kind of, picking players and stuff, which he's completely within his right to do. But I think until he gets some of that sorted, maybe in January, brings in a few players to meet his system a bit better, I think it could be a few more bad results for him. I think he'll get it right. He's clearly a good manager. He has had a big win now against City, the arch rivals, but that's my concern, is that Manchester United just don't look that much better than they did under Ten Hag.
Well,
Which
here's the
was always
attacking
gonna take a
data.
while.
Attacking data last 6. And obviously he's had, 4 of those games now? Maybe 5. 0.96 XG non-penalty per 90. 5th from bottom. Only Everton, Forest, Leicester, Southampton have registered
Yeah, that's bad.
lower XG non-penalty per 90 in that spell. I mean, if you go back, even if you look at the attack over the season, yeah, United are 12. It's not great, 1.36, but it's gone down 0.4 to 0.96 over the last 6 matches. So the new manager bounce hasn't resulted in a greater degree of vibrancy in terms of attack. 11.17 shots per 90 is amongst the worst here. Easily amongst the worst. Wolves are 11.50 as an example. Yeah, that does put me off. The fixtures and the United data makes me think that the clamour for Diallo, I don't feel the urgency at the moment.
Yeah, I think, given when Amorim came in, I think a lot of people were hoping he would get Rashford back to his best and take Garnacho up to the next level. And he's almost like given up with them already. Like, they're not in the squad again today for the second time. Rashford, I can understand. I think they probably should have cashed in on him a little while ago. But I know Garnacho's selfish and he frustrates a lot of people. But I still think there's an unbelievable talent there. So I think that he has to, I don't know, make it work with him because he's just too good not to include. But Diallo's great, and it doesn't really matter where he plays. I mean, he's rested tonight, isn't he? We think. I mean, there's rested tonight in an important game. There's a little bit of worry around that, isn't there? Like, it's a big game. Is
he on yet? They're 2-0 down.
Game.
Surely he's got to come on in that game to try and rescue that. I mean,
like, can he play 3 in a row in the next few weeks if he can't even play in this game?
Yeah, this is the thing. It's sudden that they started to become reliant on a player who wasn't even in the first 11 not so long ago, and suddenly everyone's talking about him being their best player, and he probably is over recent matches, no question. And I guess the allure is the 5.2 price tag, which is an incredible value, but it is still
3-0 now. 3-0 losing.
Solanke again. Enjoying that, Az?
God's sake, Solanke.
Oh dear, it's so typical, isn't it? Chelsea are top of this, the last 6. They're also the best attack over the season as well. 2.03 over the season, and you look at over the last 6, 2.48. They are really firing now. You've got Palmer and Jackson. I've just got Palmer. This is why Jackson can fill that void if you don't have Isak, right? Because that Chelsea attack is fantastic. Have you got Enzo as well now?
No, I talked about him, didn't I, a few weeks ago, but that bloody Liverpool postponement made me go a different direction. I ended up somewhere with Semenyo with my team. So that was I could have had Isak and Enzo, and instead I've still got Solanke and Semenyo. It wasn't my best. It wasn't my finest moment. I think Chelsea are great. I mean, they did struggle a little bit. You were right about Brentford. I thought when they played, I thought Brentford did really well. They really dug in, some really good defending. Chelsea found it hard to break them down. In the end, it took a bit of magic from Cucurella to burst through and score a great header. Never, ever, ever seen him do that before. That's got to be I think it was his first Chelsea goal, wasn't it? And it's got to be the first header he's ever scored in the Premier League. I can't ever remember him doing anything like that for us. So fair play. I thought Madueke was incredibly just wasteful and made the wrong decision throughout the game. I find him a really frustrating player in the same way that Garnacho probably is for Man United fans. But in the end, it was a good cross and they got the win. But yeah, I mean, I look at the players they've got on the bench to bring on. I look at Palmer pulling the strings, Jackson up front. Enzo is just everywhere. He covers so much ground, makes so much stuff happen. They're going to just carry on scoring goals. They're just such a good attacking side. Defensively, though, they can get got at. They're going to have to score goals in every match because I can't see them keeping really clean sheets.
Yeah, we'll touch on that in a bit. Bournemouth second in this table, and as I said, over the season as well, really strong. 5th, 1.81 over the season XG non-penalty per 90. And you look at the last 6, that's up to 2.36. Creating lots of chances, almost 20 shots per game. Big chances, over 4 big chances per game. Only Liverpool and Chelsea can match that. Does that make you feel better about Semenyo? There's a lot of people in chat saying about holding him.
he's like every game I watch, he's like by far the most dangerous player.
Yeah. 5 shots on Monday night again. Yeah.
Yeah. And like the one he put just wide, I think he just clipped the post, didn't it? And things. But yeah, you look at the numbers though, and it is one goal in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's one goal in 10 for him. Okay, well actually one of those he missed. Like he's just, again, it's like a dangerous player. Is he going to convert that into returns? And it's a bit like we've seen players like this so many times before, like Traore, you know, like Tadic. Okay, he got the massive haul in that game, we'll remember, but he was frustrating for such a long period of time. And sometimes stats and threat and all that doesn't translate into points. And I do wonder if that is a bit of Semenyo in there, because like with these numbers on the screen, with Bournemouth's attacking stats, with Semenyo's individual numbers as well, he should be regularly returning. He should be a great asset at 5'7", but I'm getting cold feet.
It's difficult. I mean, I've got Evan Nilsson. It's the same situation for me, particularly when you look at the fixtures, because they are still good over the next 6 at least. Well, certainly over the next 4. United away, Palace at home, Fulham away, Everton at home. Then again, if you look at those defences, we've said that Everton are second best defence over the last 6. Fulham's defence is strong. Palace are on the up, and it's United away. It could be that of these next 4, United away could be the best chance Bournemouth of getting goals, because the next 3, although they look easier, defensively those 3 sides are all pretty strong. Then it's Chelsea and Newcastle away, and Forest at home and Liverpool at home. So yeah, the shine is going off, isn't it?
It's a deceptive sea of blue, I think. Like they do look good on paper, but when you actually think about the defences, then they're not as good. And particularly, like, we don't really trust them as much away from home, do we? So you're almost limiting yourself to those home games in a way. I think I'm gonna drop Semenyo pretty soon.
The Palace defence here is 8th over the last 6, and the Fulham defence has dropped to 13th. So maybe we are being kind to Fulham. I think they were a strong defensive unit, and over the season, they're 7th, but they've dropped.
They'll have
a bit
Anderson
over the
back
last
though,
6.
won't they? He's due back.
He makes a big difference. Yeah. And Bassey's back from suspension, of course, as well. So I think you're right. I think the Bournemouth fixtures are as strong as perhaps they first looked. I think the good run probably comes to an end, if not after United, but certainly after Palace, because I think Fulham, Everton, Chelsea, Newcastle, Forest, Liverpool, that's very, very tough. Very tough defences to come for Semenyo.
I'm tempted by Iwobi, you know.
Well, again, we'll look at them in a minute when we get to. I can't wait.
I thought I'd set us up for that, but yeah.
I don't think we're going to touch on keepers because there's not too much to look at. Other than over the last 6, Pickford's rise to the top, 6.20 points per 90. He's now making 3 saves per 90 as well over that spell. 4 clean sheets. Everton's defence, as we saw, is second over those 6 fixtures. It does make me wonder, because I'm looking at getting Allison in probably next game week. If I roll my transfer, it will be Jimenez coming in for Cunha next week and Allison probably coming in goal. I'm getting rid of Flecken. Even though he's not done too badly over these last 6, he's 3.50, as good as any keeper other than perhaps Pickford, you could say. But I do look at Everton and think that strong defensive form, if you look at the fixtures that they got, Chelsea and City aside, if you get those 2 out of the way, they're playing Forest, Bournemouth, Villa, Spurs, Brighton, Leicester, Palace, United. It's a sea of blue. Not all easy games, but we've just seen them go to the Emirates and get a clean sheet. So, you can look at Bournemouth away, Villa at home, Spurs at home, Brighton away, and you think, well, they're going to concede a goal, but they're not. They're not conceding goals, and it's that defensive form which we know Deitch will find at some point during the season. He did it last season. The question is, are we too late? Have we just missed it, or is that going to continue?
Well, the amazing thing is, if I told you at the start of the season, after 17 game weeks, Ashley Young would have more points than Trent, Saliba, Porro, it's ridiculous, isn't it? And he's been incredible. I mean, you've got to look quite far down the list for like Tarkowski. He's below, players like Kirkes and Hall and Murillo. Mikalenko's obviously been really popular. He's done all right. He's obviously come off the bench when people need him. It's just unless you're trusting Young to get you like an assist or something, you are literally banking on Everton just grinding out like a 1-0 or a 0-0. And yeah, they're capable of doing it, but do I want that? Do I want to be hoping for that at this stage when you've got like Robinson, when you've got Hall, when you've got Trent, you've got Porro, you've got, better defences in Gabriel and Saliba. I mean, maybe it's the wrong way of looking at it. Maybe, we go back to the bread and butter, clean sheets first, attacking potential later. It's not very exciting, is it?
Well, Pickford comes in at 5 million, and you can get to Alisson for, 5.4 now, can't you? I think he is. Yeah, 5.4. And Liverpool's fixtures, if I don't have Trent, I've got to cover this, I think, because at least with Alisson, I can cover Trent's clean sheets, which then means, he's got to get attacking returns to justify the extra, 1.5 million that people have spent on Trent over Alisson. So I think that's what I'll do, just because Liverpool's fixtures from 18 are so strong. But yeah, Pickford makes a case, doesn't he? He makes a strong one, because you just can't look at fixtures and know for sure whenever they're going to keep clean sheets, because they can do it against really strong opponents.
Would you pay like just a little bit less though to have Pickford when you could have Ray or Alisson?
Yeah,
I just think they're worth. They're worth. If he was 4-5, then okay, then you've got a real decision to be made. I mean, what is Pickford? About 4.8?
He's 5 million. He's 5 million.
Yeah,
and Alisson's 5.4. So it's 0.4 saving. You just don't do it, do you?
That's not. It's. I would pick them any day. I'd still go for Ray. I'd still pay a little bit extra.
It's
not enough of a.
The only consideration, I guess, is if you've got Trent and Salah and you go Alisson, you can't get slot game week 24.
Oh no!
Here we go.
That's where we're at now.
So you just got to be careful with your Liverpool slots, so to speak.
Yeah, make sure you got your 1.5 banked to be able to get a slot in 24. In all seriousness, that is what I'll be doing.
Yeah,
so I do need to have that in mind.
Let's look at defenders. Right. Aït-Nouri out. Robinson is by far the most popular choice. A lot of talk about it. I mean, there's a lot of, is Robinson the best? Of course he's the best choice, because I just think the fixtures for Fulham are so strong. He's here 14th in our table over the last 6, 0.20 XGI on penalty per 90. He's got 3 assists in those 6 games, just 1 clean sheet, conceded 9 goals. He's not in the top 10 for any of the metrics in terms of shots per 90 or even chances created. But I'm going to show some evidence as to suggest why he should be the choice. This is Fulham's attacking bias towards the left-hand side. 40% of their attack goes on that side. And I saw a table the other day which showed the fullbacks who have overlapped their left-sided midfielder or winger most, and Robinson's top of that as well. I think Kirkes was second. So in terms of the bias towards that side of the pitch that Fulham show, and in terms of the attacking runs, Robinson is really strong. And if we look at the fixtures, Fulham are top of the ticker over the next 12. Southampton at home is just the start of a good run. Yes, Chelsea away, but then it's Bournemouth, Ipswich, West Ham, Leicester, United. There's not really any tough. There's tough fixtures there, but in terms of clean sheets and potential returns, it's there for them, isn't it? You've got Robinson in. I guess you didn't have to think too much about it, right?
Sometimes we have loads of decisions about what to do with our team, and we panic and we have sleepless nights and all that stuff. Sometimes it is so freaking obvious what you should do, and it doesn't come along very rarely, but I honestly think Aït-Nouri to Robinson is just the easiest move that anyone could make if they've got Aït-Nouri and they haven't got Robinson. I just think they're around the same price. You're shipping a player who's banned for a player with great fixtures in great form. I think he's Robertson's replacement at Liverpool. I think it's clear that Robertson is probably, at least he's not really the player that he was. And I think we saw some signs of that, bit of that last season. He did come good towards the end of last season, but he's not the same player that he was, obviously, when he was at his absolute peak. And I think Robinson has stepped up a level. I think he's arguably the best left back in the league at the moment. So, yeah, it was an easy choice. I mean, 3 home games in the next 4 for that, for a team like Fulham. We're playing. I know the defensive numbers aren't great, and when you watch them, I mean, he's at that stage. I know his stats aren't that great, and I know he's only got 6 assists and all that, but it's reached a point where, like, every time I see a goal, you expect Robinson to be involved. in it because of how often they play down the left, because of his quality with his delivery, because of how well he's playing. Love him.
Well,
Love him.
there
Won't
is
hear
another.
a bad word said about him.
There is another, and that other is third in the table, Munoz. I don't think it's yet. If we look at the Palace fixtures, we've touched them already. Yes, Arsenal at home, Bournemouth away, we're not going to go there. But I think from 19, I really like the look of the Palace game, the fixtures, especially the home fixtures. You know, Southampton, Chelsea, Brentford, Everton, Ipswich. Okay, one of those 5 Chelsea at home is tough, but the other 4 are all winnable, potential clean sheets if they do stiffen up. The evidence I would like to point to as well is this table here. So I wanted to show last 6, but I couldn't fix it. That was the table I was trying to fix before we came in air, but I didn't do it in time, so we got the season data. But the season data still makes the same point. If you look at touches in the box, shots per 90, shots in the box per 90, shots on target per 90, big chance per 90. If you look at XG per shot, XGI non-penalty per 90, Munoz is absolutely dominant here in this table. And we've got a table showing Nori, Robinson, Kirkes, Lewis Hall, Ashley Young, Colwell and Munoz. I think these are the 7 defenders that people are looking at in that bracket. Robinson is the flavour of the month because it's Southampton at home, great fixtures. Yes, but if you look at the data here, the only metric that Robinson is ahead on really is open play crosses per 90 over the season, 4.13. He's miles ahead for that. So that's the supply with the overlapping runs. That's the bias to the left-hand side. That's what you were referring to. But even in terms of chance created per 90, Munoz matches him 1.06. So even when you look at creativity at the moment, Munoz has matched him and he's absolutely destroying him and all the others for goal threat. And the key stat is the XG per shot. Not only is he having more shots, but the quality of chance he's getting is 0.16. That's as good as any forward. So it's I think it's a really compelling case. Yes, get Robinson now, but try and get Munoz in soon because in terms of goals, he is by far and away the biggest threat here in this bracket, I think.
Yep. And I think if Aitner had got this red card and it was a couple of games' time, I think it would be a real conversation between Robinson and Munoz. I think at the moment, given that Munoz is banned and then obviously has that Bournemouth game, it's an easy decision, but it definitely becomes a lot less obvious from 19. And I want them both. Exactly the same as you. I think they're both great options. I look at the way Palace play. I look how important those wing backs are. I look at the goal threat he's had. I mean, he scored a goal again, didn't he, the other night, and it was disallowed. We all thought at the start of the season this would be another big year for him because of how important those wing backs are. And I think Palace have struggled this season, particularly in the early stages, because Mitchell and Munoz just weren't really at it. Like when I saw them play, they didn't look like they did towards the end of last season. They're now both looking more, just more involved in everything that goes on. And even it's one of those ones where like everything just feels like it's aligned, doesn't it? Like even the ban of all the games for him to be banned for, Arsenal, perfect. You know? And then straight away after that, he's got a good run. Yeah, I'll be getting him. I'll be getting him from maybe even next week, but even next week or 19 for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
I think Robinson, Munoz and Hall.
Hall has done well here. There's no question. 23 chances created, and he's creating chances per 90 at the highest rate of these defenders. Kirkes, yes, I like him. I've got him. We've said about Bournemouth fixtures, though, they are stronger defensively. They're probably, other than Chelsea, and Everton, I guess, they're amongst the stronger defensive teams on show here at the moment. So I'm not ruling out Kirkes, and I probably will hold him for a while, but it'll be Davis to Munoz for me. I think I won't go Robinson. I don't think I have to because I've got Hall, but I'd like to get them both, but I don't think I'm going to be able to. I think what this table highlights as well, a lot of people going Colwell. A lot of people, and the algorithms like Colwell because Chelsea are, in terms of expected clean sheets, expected points and clean sheets, with the fixtures that they got, are right up there. But if you look at the fact that Colwell, in all these metrics, just doesn't feature at all. He doesn't give you any attacking potential, does he?
FPL Review keeps trying to push Colwell on me to the point at which I have to keep like excluding him on the solves if I'm trying to see what he should do. It's one of those ones. It's just absolutely not for me. It's just not what I want in my defender. And you know, even like someone like Young or Branthwaite or whoever, I still feel at least they play in a way which will lead to the all clean sheet, like we saw against Arsenal. Chelsea just don't. They teams will not worry about scoring against them. they will worry about conceding 8 goals against their attackers, but the defence, Fofana out and Badiashile coming in and out, and Disasi and Tosin, and changes at right back and at left back. There's so much flux in that back line as well, which doesn't lead to a stable defence. I have absolutely no interest in Colwell whatsoever.
I can see it with the fixtures. Obviously, a lot of blue there. Home fixtures against Fulham, Bournemouth, Wolves, West Ham, Southampton, Leicester. Great home fixtures. But I just think there's opportunity here with these players to go for something a bit more exciting, a bit more goal threat, a bit more chance creation threat. I think that, I listened to Hibbo on the Scoutcast this week say exactly this. It's like, it just doesn't appeal. It depends what kind of fancy manager you are. There will be fancy managers out there that are very pragmatic, will play for the clean sheets, play to the basics, which are clean sheets and fewer goals conceded, and will go Colwell over Munoz or Colwell over Hall. I think Robinson in the short term is hard to deny. But yeah, I'd always want 2 or 3 of these players, I think, over over Colwell, because I want that extra from them. So.
And it's tricky as well, because if you've got Gabriel, or like you, if you've got Gabriel and Timber, you're either limiting yourself to 1 extra spot, or you're thinking about playing 4 at the back.
Yeah.
Because I think with Robinson, with Munoz, with Kirkes, and with Hall, that's four players for 1 position effectively in your team.
But I like it. I like having those. We're lucky to have these good defenders at 4.5 million who give us some attacking threat that we can shuffle around. Because you look elsewhere, you can't get a 4-5 striker or a 4-5 mid that you would want to play, but you can get 4-5 defenders who, yes, clean sheets might not be easy to come by, but attacking returns and potential of it are there. So, yeah, I think play to this. I think why waste one of them on Colwell? I think go for something with a bit more upside is my way of playing anyway.
It's a real shame that Leif Davis isn't being mentioned now, because obviously we both brought him in around the same time-ish, around that kind of wildcard time, and we both given him a couple of games to do well, and yeah, his attacking threats dropped off lately, hasn't it? I mean, the fact he didn't even take has he always just taken corners from?
He's been taking corners both sides, but not now.
Yeah,
Jack
that's what
Clark
I thought.
took that one at the weekend, didn't he? Davis, he's still 4th for the season, 0.24 XG on penalty per 90. I don't know where he is over the last 6. He's dropped to 12. Kept it at 0.22, so he's kept his levels up.
Okay, so it's
not really delivered.
Consistent.
Yeah, but no attacking returns at all, and no
even
clean sheets.
I don't watch every Ipswich game. I obviously only catch up with the highlights, but I've seen so many games this season where Davis would put in a great cross and Delap would hit it wide or head it wide or something. And like, Jesus, like Davis is due a return. Last couple of games, I haven't really seen anything like that from him. So, and the fixtures sucked. So, and there's better options. So yeah, it's time to blow away Leaf, I'm afraid.
Very good. Lots of Leaf blowers about at the moment. Diallo has scored tonight off the bench. So we're going to talk about
Spursy.
him. Very Spursy. They're doing it again. Midfielders last 6 game weeks then. And we're looking at the 2 slots that are probably up for grabs, because, Salah, Saka, Palmer, nailed, right? We're not going anywhere.
Yep.
Leaves 2 slots. Mbumo's probably made a case to keep him. I haven't. I've already sold to Gordon. And then there's Rodgers, who's really gone off the boil. If you look at the last 6, he's 50th for XGI on penalty per 90, down to 0.32, which isn't bad, but just 1 attacking return in those 6 games, and he's not in the top 10 for any metrics. So people are looking to get in replacements for Mbumo, maybe, but certainly looking at Rodgers as well. The other alternative is you get Diallo and Rodgers and you rotate them, because the rotation between them, I haven't lined this up, but I think it's very strong
really
indeed.
Good. Yeah, it's really good. Yeah.
So you don't you play Diallo for the next 2, Bournemouth and Wolves, then you get Rodgers back in for Brighton and Leicester at home and Everton away. Then you can play Diallo for Southampton and Brighton at home, and so on and so on. So it's
like a perfect
strong.
home rotation. You're getting a lot of home games when you do that. Yeah, it's nice.
And perhaps that's the strongest thing in favour of keeping Rodgers at the moment, is the rotation with Diallo. And that unlocks Trent, and it might unlock Isak and Trent for some as well, because you're saving so much money. I am obviously looking at Diallo. He is an outstanding talent. I think I'm not in a panic to get to him, because I've invested in Gordon and I want to give him time. I also think that I saw Rodgers in the flesh for the first time at Forest, and yeah, he's their best player. He's outstanding, and he is the ball carrier and the creator there. They have got other good players, but he makes things happen. He made that goal for Duran happen. It wasn't him who got the assist, but he got between the lines and broke the challenges and set up McGinn, played the 1-2, I think, and then McGinn played a good ball in. But it was Rodgers who instigated the move, and most of the good things Villa did was from Rodgers. So I'm willing to show some patience in him. What do you think on that at the moment, the Rodgers and Bumo situation? Because you could easily keep them both, couldn't you?
Yeah, it's funny with Rodgers, because I kind of earmarked him at the start of the season to be one of the biggest bargains at 5 million. We had some good 5-5 assets, like Smith Rowe. We were looking at other players, and Murphy was there. But I thought, no, Rodgers is a bit cheaper, and he's the one. And now it's like you've got him, Enzo, and Ahmad, and he's almost the third one I'd pick. Well, I think he would be. I think he's the bottom. If I was wildcarding this week and I was picking 2 5 million mids, I'd be picking those both ahead of him. It's quite hard to make a case for him because the stats, like this chart shows, he's not top of any of the stats in terms of shots, chances created, baseline bonus, the points per 90, anything. He's not showing up great. And when you watch him, he always looks really, really good. But as I said earlier, how many times you see that? A great player for the team, involved in everything, but just not getting the returns. And Fernandes has got more routes to points because he takes some of the corners and the and free kicks and things. And then Ahmad is just in absolutely unbelievable form, looking to break into all kinds of England teams and everything. So yeah, and look at the goal involvement for Ahmad, 58%. That's what you want, isn't it? Rodgers is 14.
Yeah, and so Rodgers has got 17 points over the last 6. Diallo and Fernandes 44. Iwobi 36, Sarr 38, and Clivert 37. Obviously, Semenyo just 11. We touched on his recent form as well. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty damning, this data, isn't it, when you look at it, in that he's had 502 minutes, so he's right up there in terms of this selection, and yet, in terms of points, only Semenyo scored fewer, and he's not in the top 10 for any metrics. Nothing, creativity or goal threat. And Diallo doesn't stand out in many of these. Fernandes does well for chances created, and when it comes to threat, Semenyo dominates, but we haven't seen the returns. He's the lowest scorer here, so maybe we can't put too much stock into that. And the thing is, when I went Gordon, he fitted the profile of the kind of player I think I need to get in to make up ground and to gain rank. He's a player that hasn't come good yet, who could improve over the season. 27 attacking returns last season. He's got 6 so far this season. Odds are he's going to have a good second half of the season if Newcastle do well. The other profile of player to get on, and to get on quickly, is a player who's emerging. And the obvious one at the moment is Amad Diallo. So I need to take that seriously, because one thing the algorithms and the models don't do, and there's a lot of people who follow them, is it doesn't react quickly to players like this. Like we've seen it in previous seasons. It will take time for Review and Rate My Team to rate Diallo at the same level of some of these other players. Like if you go on to Review now, it won't recommend Diallo right yet. It might do in a few weeks, but not yet. So that means that all those managers that use the algorithms are either going to go against Review to get him, or they're going to wait. And so there's a chance there to get ahead of the game and get an advantage on those managers, and those managers are growing all the time. All the articles are tipping Diallo. I'm sure the Scout and the Premier League are tipping Diallo wildly. So the mainstream will get on him early, but the Twitter bubble maybe less so. I don't know. I think I've seen Late Riser move to him early. I haven't seen too many others yet.
And don't forget as well with Diallo, he's a United player, and the biggest percentage fan base of Man United fans, so his price always rises quicker. We've seen that time and time again with Man U fans. So he's 5-2 now. It's a quick run of games, and by the end of next week, he scored again tonight. If he scores against Bournemouth, wouldn't be surprised to see him 5-5, 5-6 by the end of next week. And it's still a good price for him, but it's like Palmer last year, isn't it? It just starts to kind of get away from you a little bit, and that does stack. I would just apologise. I had no idea that Diallo's actually an Ivory Coast international player.
He's not going to represent England. Yeah.
No, I did not know that.
And I apologise as well because this table is also broken because the XGI non-penalty and the points per 90 columns are the wrong way round on Rodgers and Semenyo. So apologies for that. I will have to fix that next week.
Eagle-eyed.
I know, they
viewers.
spotted it well. I mean, the data is there. You just have to spot those columns around. So in other words, Rodgers has got 0.32 XGI non-penalty per 90 and 6.99 points per 90. And Semenyo's 0.39 XGI per 90 and 10.05.
Yeah, Semenyo with 10 XGI non-penalty per 90, I think he'd be a hold.
Yeah, I think, sorry, I didn't spot the... This is the first time we've used the last 6 comparison tables this week, and clearly I've got errors to fix in them, so I will do that next
time. That's your homework over Christmas.
But it still highlights for me that, the fall off from Rodgers, and you can see why people are looking to get rid. And I think the only reason people are holding him is because of the Diallo rotation at the moment. What do you think of the fixtures for Villa as well? I mean, the short term's not good. City and Newcastle, although arguably City at home, is that a fixture you want to sell him for?
No, I don't think so. I've got, when we talk about sleeper and predictions, I've got Villa to win that. I think it's a good fit. And I think about the way City score goals, and I think of the way Roger drives the ball, and I'd be very surprised if he didn't get at least an assist in this game. The way he plays, I think it's a good fixture. Newcastle away is tough, but that's when I'd potentially be looking to bring in Ahmad, which I think is going to be next week. And then I'll just keep that rotation going. So I completely get it. The only thing is there are other good players. Like we haven't. Iwobi doesn't show up so well on those stats, but he's obviously got the 4 home games, and he's the best route into the Fulham attack, with Jimenez obviously and Muniz being potential risks of rotation, with not really anyone else so great in that side. We talked about Sarr earlier. We talked about Fernandez. It's amazing, isn't it? We've got all these premium assets, and you think this is going to be the upside chasing that Late Riser goes on about, but actually it's like upside chasing of 5 million assets, which is probably going to define our season. Yeah,
I think if I... And those slots are important because, like I say, the 3 midfielders are dominant there. I think if I hadn't have gone Gordon last week, I would be going Diallo now. So I think it's worth going in early because he does look like an outstanding prospect at that price, and obviously every game at the moment he's getting something. And even in that United team with the fixtures, with the data, he just is sparkling. And yes, you might not be able to rely on his 90 minutes all the time, but if you got that rotation with Rodgers, I think Diallo Rodgers is the way to go. I'm not gonna lose Gordon now. I think I'm gonna keep trusting him because I do think Newcastle are on the up and he's on the up. But Rodgers to Diallo in a few weeks, which I think I can take my time on. He will rocket in price because, like you said, the United fan base is there and active, right? So, but having these bargain options there, all of these players have flitted in and out. It's just whether one of them can sustain it. And at the moment, if you're going to bank on any of them to sustain it, probably would be Fernandez and Diallo, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think it would be. I mean, I am tempted by Sarr when the fixtures, turn, but then obviously we've got Munoz who we can cover. That's probably not the right word for Sarr. But yeah, I think those 3 look good. I mean, Fernandez, it will be annoying if I kind of go in a different direction and then Fernandez ends up being the one, because he was who I really wanted a few weeks ago and kind of didn't go down that route. And yeah, I think of all the players, he has, like I said, got the most route to points in that side. I mean, there is maybe slightly more risk of rotation with him because they've obviously got players like Lavia who can play midfield and they can shake things up. But you forget he's like a £115 million player, don't you? Who is playing kind of the best he's played in a Chelsea shirt, and they're winning every game and they've got great fixtures. So I don't necessarily think there's a lot to worry about, but you never really know, particularly over the three games over the next week.
With Palmer and Jackson, though, surely you're not going to go 3 Chelsea attackers. That's the thing. It's too much, isn't it? So for you, Diallo's got to be the route.
I don't think it is. No,
I mean, they're the best attacking team. We've seen that, but
yeah, best attacking team with the best fixtures. I've never done well with a triple up before in attack, but if you are going to do it, I don't hate those 3.
Okay, let's look at forwards last 6. A lot of players to talk about here. Cunha, who is obviously we've mentioned earlier, we don't know what his situation is going to be yet. No appeal has gone in that we know about, even though the deadline was today. We think he's going to play Leicester, right? So we think that he's going to get at least that. So I think he is a hold for a lot of people. because that's a fixture that obviously Wolves can go away and score in. I had a look earlier, and Leicester's defensive data since Rude came in, 76 shots they've allowed in those 3 games, more than any other team. So you've got to think that Wolves will go there and create opportunities, and Cunha obviously is their star player. So you hold him, I think. But if you are getting rid, the names that that are out there to look at, and there's plenty, isn't there?
There is, but I do think unless you're going up to Jackson or Isak, it is pretty ropey in terms of who you get. There's no one that I think really stands out, and I did an article for Sportscasting on it where I'm looking at my options and thinking, okay, I've got Jackson. I obviously can't do Cunha to Isak easily, so I'm looking at Wood, Jimenez, Pedro. I'm not really looking at Visser or Evan Nilsson. I've already got Semenya. I've already got my bed made with that, and Visser's obviously got the tough fixtures. So Wood, Jimenez and Pedro are who I wrote about, and you look at the stats and think, oh, there's nothing really amazing with any of these three. You look at the fixtures and think, yeah, they're okay for all of them. Obviously, Jimenez is the best, but then he's got the threat of Muniz as well. I just want Cunha to be all right, but he's not. So I've got to do something. Yeah, where would you go? I honestly, I find it really, really tricky to know who to go to if you're going for less.
Yeah, I mean, this table is also broken, so apologies again for that same issue in those 2 columns 5 and 6 here, Pedro and Visser. But most of the data is correct. And what is prominent is how dominant Isak is for me. Jackson, obviously for touches in the box, shots per 90, shots in the box per 90 over the season. Over the last 6, rather, really strong. God, we're not having a good night tonight. I need to rewrite that. That's not season, that's last 6. But, yeah, those 2 are absolutely dominant. And you get what you pay for, don't you, with those 2. If you go below that, a lot of talk of Chris Wood, but his data here, and if you look at the last 6 on the last 6 table, he's right down in 24th, 0.19 XGI non-penalty per 90, which... Yeah, that's the concern, isn't it, with him? In that Forest don't score enough goals. The Forest fixtures aren't particularly strong. They're okay, and we will score goals over these next 6. But we've got Everton away, we've got Liverpool at home. Yes, there are good fixtures in there with Southampton at home, Wolves away, arguably. Wood will get 2 or 3 goals, possibly over those next 6. But going back to that table, 0.19 XGI non-penalty per 90 is the lowest on show. Visser at 0.47, João Pedro 0.65. Yeah, but you look at Isak and you look at Jackson. Isak 0.93 is really scary, isn't it, if you don't have him?
Yeah, and I don't. So thanks for that. I mean, a lot of this stuff is scary because I think the others, aren't really anywhere near, those 2. I think those 2 are just so far and beyond the best 2. And then if you're kind of picking a third one, it's who you go for. I think it's probably between Wood and Pedro where I'd like to go, if I could. Actually, both might actually be a little bit too pricey for me. I think people are writing Pedro off. I know it's obviously been quite a few blanks for him. Brighton have been struggling. Still a couple of good fixtures. He's on penalties. He's just played 90 minutes, which was kind of what I was waiting for before I looked at bringing him in. Because obviously he had those 3 games in short succession, just come back from the injury. Looks like all that kind of stuff's behind him. It's just his role in the side. You want to see him playing behind a striker rather than being farmed out to the left and other things around that. Wood, I just don't think the stats... Yeah, it's decent.
0.65 XGI on penalty. He's still decent. And then the eye test hasn't really shown that. But he's in the top 10 for shots in the box, for chance created. But yeah, he's still got the 5 returns over the last 6 game weeks. It's just been the last 2 or 3 games where he's just been really concerning. I mean, where do you stand on Jimenez? I mean, it's the rotation with Muniz that we've got to worry about, isn't it?
Yeah, like he's fine. I think if you've got him, he's a hold. I think you can look to buy him, and it's not a bad option. It's good fixtures. I expect him to start 3 of the next 4. It's a similar thing to Murphy though. Always at risk of getting subbed. Fulham 0-0, 60 minutes, he's off. Muniz is on. He doesn't like to play them both together. And yeah, I mean, the question is, do you go back to your old mate? Do you just go back down to a Stewart at 4-5 and just keep the 5 in midfield and spend a bit more in defence?
And
as
this is
well.
it with the 4-5 defenders and with Diallo and Rogers rotation, you can perhaps afford to do that. Have that one dead slot.
Yeah.
I don't think you can do it over Christmas because I think over Christmas you want to have as much active players on the bench as you can. But that could be the option afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, I still think Pedro will come good at some point. Once he's figured out how to play him in the side. You know, with penalties at the start of the season, he was electric and he's unplayable at times. It just hasn't really happened for him in the last few weeks.
I think that Jimenez for me unlocks Alisson, unlocks Munoz. I need to downgrade either Gordon or Cunha, and looking at Gordon's a differential for me. Cunha certainly isn't, and Wolves' fixtures get tougher, as we've said. So I think Cunha down to Jimenez is the way I'm going to go, and just deal with the rotation risk. Not play him every week, rotating with Evan Nilsson and with Rogers. I think that's the way I'm going to go, just because it's an enabler for me. Stewart obviously would be an even greater enabler, and perhaps that's the way I'll go eventually. But I think for this Christmas spell, if I don't do it this week, I will do it next week. It will be Cunha down to Jimenez just to enable that money. Mateta's not in that table. And if you're not going Sarr, he's another one that could come good. We saw last season, he's a bit like Gordon in that he really produced last season for that spell. He's been off the boil so far, but if you want to go a differential, Mateta's not that much of a risk given the fixtures, is he?
Yeah, but he's a risk in terms of minutes again. I mean, only 59-minute sub in the last game.
Yeah. It's not the starts, it's the X-Mins, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. I had Mateta at the start of the season. He got me 2 goals, a penalty that I was expecting, and then I think he started missing games and getting subbed early and stuff. I don't know. The thing is you can kind of get away with it with Jimenez when he's 5'5". Mateta's obviously that little bit more. I think.
He's very expensive. I think in terms of pricing, it's excessive, isn't it? I think he started the season at 7.5. He's dropped to 7.2, but that's too rich for me. I think
7.2. Yeah, I think it's a bit much, isn't it? Yeah.
Duran, not out of it completely. I mean, he got the start of Forest. He's going to start against City, you'd think, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but I just sound like a broken record. It's just I just don't want to be worrying about players starting it's over this run. We haven't talked about Jota. I know there's a few people looking to bring in Jota over this run. I just think he's a great player, but it's the wrong time to bring him in because there's 3 games in a week and you just don't know when they're going to start or not. And I think you've got a bit more security with Mateta. I won't put him quite in the same bracket. I would probably expect him to start all 3 of those, but Jota could get 1 out of those 3. Duran could get 1 of those 3. It's not worth it.
Yeah, you've got to think with Duran that as soon as he blanks, Watkins is back in again. And it might even be Watkins against City. I think Duran deserves to keep his start. He'd be an amazing gift to us because, I mean, you look at the data here, 0.59, he's 8th in this table. I think if you look over the season, though, he's second to Haaland, 0.74 XGI non-penalty per 90. So give him starts, and he's right up there with the very best. You know, keeping the top 5 are Jackson, Watkins, Isak, Duran and Haaland in terms of XGI non-penalty per 90. So he's got the potential. This is why if he'd have got the move to West Ham, he may well have been a real factor, but he didn't. And now he's someone we can't really take a risk on. And what he's done as well is also kill Watkins as an option completely.
I know. Yeah, he's a funny one, isn't he? Because at the start of the season, Aston Villa fans were kind of really angry with him for his whole, Instagram
that
post,
was a bit of a faux pas, wasn't it?
It was just a bit. And you look at that West Ham team and think, God, they could really. I mean, imagine him in that team. Now I think he'd be doing brilliantly there. But he's playing in the Champions League. He's getting starts now. He's done everything he could to break him into the team. It's amazing. But FPL wise, not for me.
Fair enough. So it looks like you certainly go up to Isak if you can afford it from Cunha.
Yeah.
And if you can't, then you're going down to perhaps. I don't know about Wood. I because that's not enabling any.
You've been
more
saying
money.
that all year.
Yeah, I look at the data and I look at Forest and think, I think his goal involvement, if we go back to the table, is like not particularly as high as I thought. I thought he'd be dominant, but it's not. over the last
30%.
6. 29% over the last 6. So we have got other sources of goals in the team, and so it's not a case of, well, if we score 4 or 5 goals, he's getting 70% of those. And we're not a big attacking team. If we look at the attacking data over the last 6, we're third from bottom. We're 15th, 1.17. That's over the season. And you look at it over the last 6, we are third from bottom, 0.92. So we're a strong defensive side who counter-attack, but when we counter-attack, there are multiple goal scorers, basically. It's not like Wood is as dominant as you think. I was surprised at that. I thought he would be more dominant in terms of a talisman. So I think just go Jimenez, play the fixtures that Fulham have got. They're top of the ticker over the next 12, as we said. Take the rotation and use the money. That's what I'm going with. Yeah, I think that's hard to argue against.
I've strongly considered Jimenez all week, and I'm not completely ruling it out. I mean, my Brighton bias pushes me a little bit more towards João Pedro, but yeah, you can reassess Jimenez after game week 20. Give him those 3 home games. Like I said, I think he starts 3 of those 4, and then you can kind of assess from there.
Nearly 900 watching, which is pretty surprising given this game is 4-3 to Spurs.
Whoa.
Absolutely
game of the season, typical. Yeah.
Incredible game. I think Solanke got 2, yeah.
4-3. Johnny Evans.
Evans has scored. Diallo's got an assist as well to go with the goal now, so he's really playing up to the hype that we've probably added to tonight. But yes. Let's look at our predictions next. And this table, we're doing all right, aren't we? We're moving up the table. I've gone below 50%. You're bang on 50%.
I know. You were flying as well. You were like 53%. You've had a really rough couple of weeks.
It's not been good, but it's very, very tight indeed. And this week, we were quite similar. Okay. I was going to revise some of these, but I've left them alone. I don't want to cheat.
Yeah, same.
And so... Villa Man City, I've gone 2-2. You've gone the home win. You really fancy City misery to continue.
Yeah, I just don't see anything good about them at the moment. And I think it's a bad time to play Villa because they've finally been given a bit of a rest. Had a bit of a chance to, might have had a few days off, gone to some garden centres, had a bit of a wind down, and I think they're going to be well up for this. And yeah, I think the Villa are strong in the middle of the pitch, and that's where City seem to be weak. I just think they're going to have too much from the pace of Watkins, Duran potentially as well. Going to be a tough game for City. They'll do well to even get a point, I think.
I think Villa defensively are there to be got at, though. I think City obviously have still got threats on the pitch. I think there'll just be goals in this. I just don't trust either defence. So I've gone 2-2. I'll give City a point now. It just seems crazy, doesn't it, that we're so down on City at the moment. Brentford Forest, this is one of the few scores that we differ on. And I don't normally feel buoyant about Forest winning a game like this, but Brentford's injuries make me think that we can do something there. So I've gone 2-1. You've gone 2-1 the other way. You've gone 2-1 Brentford, I've gone 2-1 Forest. You just think Brentford's home form will be too much for us, right?
That's it. It's purely... I think this is an even game on paper. I think they're very good at home. I wouldn't be surprised if Forest won it. I think the 2 centre-back injuries are pretty big. But as Luke keeps saying in our group chat, losing centre-backs doesn't always mean a route for the other side. So.
No, and they've got replacements. Ben Mee will come in, obviously. So he's not nothing to be sneezed at. But I think it's disruption, isn't it, in that Brentford defence, which isn't great anyway.
Yeah.
And I think Forest, just everything's working at the moment. We look really well drilled defensively, and we look threatening with Anderson and Gibbs White on the pitch together. It's really nice. So yeah, I think we'll nick it. Ipswich, Newcastle both gone 3-1. Newcastle
got to be considering Isak for captain, haven't you? 3-1. Probably has a hand in all 3 of those. I'm terrified of not having him this week. It's not good.
It's very interesting because I looked at the Ipswich defence, which over the season 1.93 is not bottom, it's third from bottom for XG conceded non-penalty. Leicester and Southampton below them. But if you look at open play XG, the 3 teams are neck and neck. So because Leicester and Southampton are so weak at set plays, where Ipswich aren't as weak as set plays. If you look at just open play XG conceded, they're as bad as each other. In fact, Ipswich are second bottom. So although we can look at Ipswich defence and go, oh no, they're not as bad as Southampton and Leicester, from open play they very much are as bad. So that was surprising. I was really shocked at that, which makes me think that, I think Newcastle will beat them quite easily.
Newcastle team turn up. They've been so hit and miss this season. I mean, it was a good win for them in the Cup last night. It was obviously a great performance against Leicester. They're starting to turn in more good than bad.
Yeah.
But I mean, there was spells of the game yesterday when they looked kind of out of ideas again and a bit sloppy. And my only hope is that Ipswich can can frustrate them a bit and keep it down. But I think Newcastle have too much quality. I think they're starting to turn the page, and I think they're going to go and have a good end to the season.
No Delap for Ipswich as well, and that's a blow, isn't it?
Big blow, yeah.
Because I think he's their focal point. I've tipped them to score, but actually I wanted to change this one to a 3-0 because I don't think Ipswich will score. So I'm definitely
they even got
Hall
up front because Hurst is out.
El Hamady, I think, will play. Hurst is injured. Yeah, El Hamady will play. I think he's been coming on for Delap.
Okay.
But I don't think he's a Premier League player.
Him. No, I don't know much about him, to be fair.
So I think they struggle with Delap up top to score goals. I think without him, I mean, Newcastle will give him chances, I guess, but I think they'll have too much.
I'll tell you who's been very disappointing this season. That's Hutchinson.
Yeah, I wanted more from him as well. Pollard's not been there, has it? But I think he's just adjusting to Premier League. I think if they stay up, he's obviously a bright talent. It would have been nice for him to have been in the mix with things. We haven't really had him in conversation at all. Pre-season, I liked him, but he needs this season to find his feet. He's a very good player. I mean, I saw him at the City Ground, and he caused us a lot of problems. He had a chance saved by Sells. So it's there.
A bit like Knockaert, though. Sometimes
maybe
that step up is tough. Hopefully not. I thought he was great in the Championship last year.
Talking of Knockaert, let's go to Brighton, West Ham. You've both gone. We've both
I'm going to this game.
Are you?
This game with FPL Fella and his mum.
And you're predicting disappointment for Fella then?
Well, you've got to. I can't be going into this with a West Ham win. We've also had a bet at the start of the season who'd finish higher in the league, and even though it looks very likely that Brighton are going to do it, it's not been a great couple of weeks. I know, yes. I know. Getting more and more worried. And also, I remember bad results against West Ham in the past. I remember last year when they just absolutely thrashed us. Long balls over the top, Bowen getting on the end of them. They've got players that can hurt us. So this won't be an easy game, but I feel like we need a game where it might be a bit. The players might get a bit more up for it. I mean, if you can't get up for Palace at home, though, I don't know. We're a weird team. People think we're going to lose this one, which probably means we'll win. That seems to be how Brighton have operated over the last few years.
I watched West Ham the other night. Not a big improvement, was there? I mean, Lopetegui's been given a stay of execution, but obviously the odds are probably on him being the next one to go. I don't think this is a must-win for West Ham, but it's a game that they would hope to get something from. But it's very interesting because Brighton were at a crossroads. I think their season could go completely the other way. They look like they're going to be pushing for European places, but they need to get something out of this game, I think, to get a foothold because it's going. I think they will. Palace Arsenal.
We just need to sort out. I was going to say we just need to sort out like the team is. I don't think he's kept the same team once all season.
Yeah,
and I know we've got lots of options and things, but I don't know. It doesn't make for. Especially when the defence is so unsettled. It's like keep the midfield quite stable, just so at least we've got a bit of stability there. I'm not totally convinced. Yeah, I'm not totally convinced on Ayari either. He keeps playing. I think Hinshelwood out's a big blow for us too. We have had injury problems like to key players, so it's not completely surprising. But yeah, maybe too many options and needs to find the best team.
Palace Arsenal both gone away win. I'm gone narrow 1-0 because Palace obviously on the up. You reckon they'll score against the Arsenal defence? I think at the moment, I think I saw Sky look at their open play XG in mid-table Arsenal. They're relying heavily on set plays at the moment. So they're not creating a lot from open play, and we saw them obviously struggle against Everton. So I haven't backed them for a goal fest here, but I think they'll go away and do a professional job and win it 1-0. You're saying 2-1. I think obviously Palace on the up. You think they'll score, right?
Yeah, something about him at the moment. Backed him to get a goal, but could easily be a 1-0.
Everton, Chelsea both gone 2-0. Not a big enough margin for us to think about Palmer, maybe. But we'll talk about the captaincy in a minute. We saw Everton, the second best defence over the last 6, 4 clean sheets in that spell. That's got to play into it. But Chelsea, the best attack over the last 6. Should have too much for them and win this game.
I'd have thought so, but they could. We thought about Arsenal, Everton. But surely Chelsea get a couple in.
And the next result is why we're talking about Jimenez, potential replacement Cunha. If he does play, we've both gone 3-0 Fulham. It's got to be something in there for either Muniz or Jimenez, depending who starts. Because we don't see, there's no new manager in at Southampton at the moment. Fulham are a good side, and particularly at the Cottage. This should be at least 3-0, I would have thought, right?
Yeah, I would have thought so. They're just light years ahead of where Southampton are. I mean, I know Russell Martin plays some weird football at times, but you look at the squad of Southampton and think this squad isn't really good enough, I don't think, to stay up anyway. So it doesn't really matter who comes in. They're going to struggle. I mean, they might adopt like a much more conservative approach, stop playing out the back, just try and, hang on for a bit. But Fulham are a really, really good team, and they should be looking to win this by 3-0.
Yeah, yes, your Robinson clean sheet. It is the Garden Centre game because I think it could be...
It's 1-0 Southampton, you know it, don't you?
Yeah, it could be dire, couldn't it? If Southampton turn up and try and park the bus, if they're even capable of doing that. But we expect to see a change of style and perhaps cutting out some of the defensive errors that have been really at the centre of some of the results they've had. So it could be that they are a little more sound defensively than we've seen under Martin, but you still think Fulham win this.
Of all those Sunday games, which one do they televise?
Yeah, I know. Well, Everton Chelsea might not be great shapes either.
I know, but that's the one. If I was to pick one of those four, like you have done, like you've picked them for the Garden Centre game, that's the one game I wouldn't want to watch.
Yeah. Leicester Wolves, I think there'll be goals here. I really do, because
this is the one
can
I want to watch.
You've gone 2-1, I've gone 3-2. I just found it very hard to predict because Rude is getting a tune out of them in the attacking third. He seems to be sacrificing all kind of defensive resolve in the back third. So I think Wolves score, but I think Leicester could run out winners, and you've tipped them to win as well. You've gone 2-1, I've gone 3-2.
Yep. Nothing more in it than what you've just said. I think Rude is a more attacking manager.
Yeah.
I think Leicester will score more goals than Wolves, so they'll win this one.
Vitor Pereira's come in now. I was tempted to change this one and reverse it and go Wolves, but I've left it as it is. I think it's a very difficult game to call now the new manager is in. I predicted this before today's announcement. I wasn't sure he was going to be in charge for this game. Now he is. I wonder whether he's going to get an instant impact.
This is like, in terms of the relegation battle, this is absolutely huge.
Yeah.
Because one of these two teams will go, if not both, but one of these two teams will definitely go down this season.
It's a bold statement, but yeah.
Well, it's going to be Southampton.
Yeah.
One of these two, it's going to be Southampton and two of these two in Ipswich, isn't it?
Looks that way, doesn't it? United, Bournemouth and Spurs, Liverpool, we've gone identical outcomes and scores. United, Bournemouth, you've gone 2-1. I think United have got enough to win this. Bournemouth will be stubborn. United games are so hard to predict, as are Bournemouth games. I think it's a tough one for United. It's not going to be easy, and Bournemouth will score, I believe. But yeah, I've gone 2-1, so have you. Any say on that one?
Just I back United at home, and I would back, if it was away, if Bournemouth were at home, I'd be going for 2-1 Bournemouth. But they're away, so again, it's just a home fixture. Yeah,
high press. You see what Forest did there. He could turn Bournemouth's way, but true. I didn't see too much on Monday night to make me think that. And Diallo will start this game, and he's such a big factor at the moment. Instant reward for those who buy him, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you'd be confident of getting something, wouldn't you? Especially if there's 2 goals scored. I think he's the most likely person to score in that team. There's a few people mentioning Højlund. I wouldn't be going there.
No.
Dallo at wing back. I mean, Fernandes, I think, is a fine player to keep. I wouldn't be buying him. I'd definitely be buying Ahmad if I had the choice. And
Spurs, Liverpool. This is a key fixture of the captaincy, of course. And with Spurs' defensive frailties, with both Romero and Van der Ven out, we assume they're going to be still out for this game. it's going to be hard to stop Liverpool scoring goals. I think Spurs will test them and challenge them at the other end, but we've both gone 3-1.
The FPL family derby game to be a fly on the wall in the household with this game going on.
Don't think Sam's looking forward to it.
No,
Someone tells me she's worried about
she
it.
predicted a win for Spurs, but she is incredibly biased and obviously can't go for a win for her husband. I think there's goals in this one, which, you know, Spurs might score 2 and Slanky won't be involved in either, which would be horrible. It's his old club though, isn't it? It's got the old club,
but Liverpool's defence is strong, isn't it? Spurs will cause them problems, but if any defence can deal with it, it's Liverpool's, I think.
He'll go for it. He'll try and put them under as much pressure as possible, like he always does. You know, they've just won big win tonight, just about got over the line. Yeah, he'll test them, but Liverpool were just so good at the moment, and you know, Salah, they've got options now. They've got Jota back.
Yeah,
I think even Kayser played, didn't he? Came on for a bit. So
yeah, Nunes scored the other night as well.
Yeah.
So they're all back
in great form. Trent's back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they'll have enough. Too much.
It takes us to the captaincy, because I think the smart money is on Salah, who over the last 6 game weeks, he's actually on penalty per 90 is top 0.99, ahead of Isak 0.93 and Palmer 0.91. I think those 3, I mean, the season data obviously points to Haaland, but I think it's Salah, Isak, Palmer, right? Is that the order you would go in?
I think that is bang on. Yeah. If we knew Jimenez was going to start, I still probably wouldn't go there, to be fair. I still think it's those 3. I would be very tempted by Isak. If I had him, I would be close. I think Ipswich could fall apart, if you know, particularly if Newcastle get an early goal. But I think Spurs, I just can't see any way in which Salah doesn't get a return or multiple returns against Spurs. And it's one of those ones where you can sort of risk it. For, you know, people have tried to go against Salah so many times this season. Sometimes if your team's looking good, it's tempting, isn't it, just to kind of, I don't know, go for the sensible and highly owned option, who's probably going to still get points, and then just take the other points from the rest of your players. Consolidate.
You know, it's one of those weeks where you could afford to go against the EO and go. I think the EO will be with Salah. So I think you can afford to go either Isak or Palmer. There's some merit in that. And if we look at Rob's graphic that we always bring up, this is at Rob T FBL. He does predict, or the spread betting shows rather, that Liverpool are projected to get the most goals, 2.4. Then it's Fulham 2.3, Chelsea 2.05, Newcastle 2.0. So Isak and Palmer are up there in terms of likelihood of returns, given that they're dominant for their teams in terms of goal involvement, and those teams are just behind Liverpool in terms of expected goals scored here. Fulham are second though, and you mentioned Jimenez. I think it's not only whether he starts, he's going to get like 70 minutes, isn't he? Maybe even 65 before Muniz is given a chance. So you're not going to go a Fulham player. It is out of Salah, Isak, Palmer, and I think Salah, Isak, Palmer is the order I'd rank them in at the moment.
Yep, I can't really disagree with that. I mean, Palmer got a massive haul, didn't he, against Everton? That's when he got the 4 goals last season. That was Monday night, wasn't it? Was that a Monday night game? I seem to remember it was. At least it wasn't involving West Ham. It seems to be on every bloody Monday night at the moment.
I know, they love West Ham on a Monday.
Oh, God, they're so dull. So dull. Yeah, I don't hate it. I think if you're looking at captaincy this week, I think Salah's the best option. But as this shows, I think you can pick any of those 3 and risk it. If you're feeling a bit more risky this week, go for it. If you just want to keep it on Salah, then don't feel bad, because he should get something.
No surprise Lee is going, Lee from FPL family is going Mo captain. I think that's the way I'm going to go. I don't think I want to play against it. There'll be other occasions when we can do it. And if you look at the matrix now, I didn't have Salah at Spurs highlighted a few weeks back, but I've highlighted it now. And it's those 3 that I've highlighted for 17, Salah, Isak, Palmer. But then you look at the week 18. I mean, that's the one really, isn't it? I mean, look at the options we got here. If you've got Haaland, he's at home to Everton, but Salah at home to Leicester, Saka at home to Ipswich, Isak at home to Villa, Palmer at home to Fulham. You'd lean towards Salah again, but you could legitimately, if you saw Arsenal breaking out of the malaise a bit in terms of open play goal threat, going Ipswich at home from going Saka, there's chances there, isn't there, to go different?
Well, look what Newcastle did to Villa last season as well with the high line that they play, and then breaking through that. I think any of those 5 is a good option. Saka's, if Saka does come back in with a big return against Palace this week, he's almost back on the menu for this one. I really want him to get another big haul, just so all the triple defences get a bit punished, because it's not been nice watching them get these points, and Saka's our weapon against those. So it would be nice to see him returning, but I think realistically we can talk about how good options are. We're all going to go Salah at home to Leicester, aren't we?
It looks that way.
They're under Roux, they're even more attacking, and they'll probably give Liverpool a game and just get torn apart. That could be a big.
But then
call for
Palmer in 19, it's Palmer, Ipswich, Salah at West Ham. That's closer, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you'd be tempted to go Palmer there, I think.
I think I'd be going Palmer for that. Yeah. I mean, if you did have Haaland, I mean, obviously a lot of people don't, but there's still some out there who've still got him. Would you keep him? Bearing in mind you've kept him for this long and the good run's about to start. And would you be tempted to captain him in a couple of these games? Because arguably, Haaland against Leicester and West Ham in 19 and 20 he's the best. He's the best captain.
I think if you've got him, you've got to captain him, haven't you? Otherwise, why are you keeping a 15 million asset if you're not giving the armband on him when he's got Everton, Leicester, West Ham, Brentford, Ipswich? Those 5, you've got to go with him and hope that he can claw back some of the deficit that you've no doubt suffered as a result of holding him. And there's every chance he will. But City just, I said it to you a few weeks back, City at the moment don't look to be playing with the level of confidence that means he can get a brace or more. And that's what he needs to get. He needs to get a brace. And 1 goal and bonus isn't enough because, Isak, Jackson, Chris Wood, Jimenez, they're all capable of doing that. He needs to be getting at least 2 goals and maximum bonus. And I don't know, his confidence has taken a dip. City's has definitely taken a dip. They're not perhaps creating chances as easily as they were. His XG has remained strong, but he just didn't deliver. And we don't know why that is. It's very hard to explain. I mean, we've had a lot in chat talking about Haaland's decline, despite his XG remaining high. But if you've held him this long, and a few have, I think Late Riser's still got him, for example. Luca's got rid now, but
he has.
Late Riser's going to be captaining him from 18, isn't he? All the way through that run to 22.
I think he has to. He has to, like you say, right? Otherwise, he's going to be. Otherwise, there's just no point. I think maybe in 18. I still think if you go Salah over Haaland in 18. I wouldn't be brave enough to do because Everton can frustrate. Right. But then I think from 19 right the way to 22, I'd go Haaland if I had him. Yeah. I will just say though, if I still had him, I'd sell him this week. I think if I could spread that money around. I don't think he's going to do that well against Villa away. And this is your last chance to sell him because if you keep him this week, you've got to hold him.
It really, and the thing is, I talked about the hits earlier and how they work for me. I had to take those hits because I sold Haaland, and you can't just sell Haaland. You've got to sell Haaland and spread all the money. And the only way you can do that is either with multiple free transfers if you got them, but I didn't. So in order to maximise selling Haaland, I had to take hits to spread the money, and it did work for me. So that's the other thing you've got to do. If you're selling him this week, you've got to have transfers or take hits to try and maximise the money that will free up by bringing in 2 or 3 other players to make your team stronger.
I mean, Haaland down to Isak frees up like 7 million.
Yeah, you can't have. I mean, I did sit there with I think 5 or 6 million in the bank for a week or 2.
Yeah, you did.
You've got to use it, haven't you? You've got to try and use it as quickly as you can. So that's the other thing about selling him now. Not only is it, you're making that choice to lose him ahead of those fixtures, but it's also you've got to have the transfers or take hits to maximise the spend that you get back. I think it's tough now. Yeah.
I think if I had him this week, I'd be looking at doing something like Haaland to Jackson and Isak in for one of the other strikers, and try and roll with Isak, Jackson, and then Cunha maybe for one more week if you've got him, or one of the other forwards that we've talked about. I just think if you haven't got Isak, I think Haaland to Isak is just a great move.
And he's in this table now. If you look at Isak, there's a lot of pink there. As in, there's only really the game week 19 fixture, United away. That's the only fixture where you wouldn't look at him and think I could captain him. Ipswich away, you can captain him. Villa at home, you can captain him because Villa's defence isn't good. Spurs away, well, we've talked about captaining Salah, so you could definitely captain Isak. Wolves at home, Bournemouth at home, Southampton away, Fulham at home. I guess Bournemouth at home and Fulham at home, they're decent sides with decent defences, but it's still a home fixture. So Yeah, Isak very, very strong. And I'm not saying you are going to captain him over Palmer or Salah, but it just shows you how good Newcastle's fixtures are.
Do you think he's a must for the next 4 games, given that 3 are away?
No, I think you can get away with it. If you get past this one, you can probably get away with it. But then from 21, with the 3 home games coming up and Southampton away, it's tough.
And he's gonna be.
What's he going to be worth then? He's going to be what, 8.5, 8? Wait, what's he now? He's 8.4.
He's 8.7. He's 8.7 now. He's going to be like 9.1, 9.2.
So,
I know
he's gone up a lot.
I know.
I
can't believe I didn't just. I wish I'd just done that Solanke to Isak move when I had the money to do it. And you did it, didn't you?
He went down 0-1 and I got him then. And then obviously he's gone up a lot since.
I'm kicking myself over that. Really
but
am.
He is going to soar, isn't it? I mean, depending. I mean, if he blanks at Ipswich, then you're okay. But if he gets another goal at Ipswich, the only saving grace is the gap between game weeks is short. So perhaps there isn't enough time for him to go up 0-2 at least. So that's in your favour. But yeah, it's tough, isn't it? It depends. I mean, like Newcastle have got to play well for him to score against Villa, United and Spurs. So I think you're okay next 4. It's just the price rises. As always, the price rises really nag at you, don't they? And push you into doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll probably cave before. I think before 21. I don't think this week, but probably before 21.
Let's look at your team then for this week. Talk us through it then for the podcast.
Yeah, so team's all right. It just is missing Isak. It's Raya in goal with Gabriel, Hall and Robinson. All good fixtures for the defence. Salah captain, Palmer, Saka playing Rodgers. Home to Man City. And then Jackson, Solanke and Cunha up top with Semenyo, Davis and Moreno on the bench. So I've already done 8 Nuri to Robinson. That did that and obviously caught the price rise and 8 Nuri's drop as well, which would have affected me. So 0.2 up on that. I've got another transfer I could use.
Right.
So basically where I want to be in a few weeks, I think, is I want Solanke, Cunha and Semenyo out. And I want Ahmad, Isak and Pedro in. So I'm wondering if I just do one of those moves this week. So Diallo's rising tonight, for example. I could just do Semenyo to Diallo.
And play him over Rodgers.
Yeah, or Solanke. Or Solanke, potentially. But yeah, it probably would be over the Rodgers. But that, like, I because the game weeks are such a quick turnaround, it's not like I'm waiting a week for like injuries and stuff. Like they're the 3 that I want to get over the next few weeks. So I don't need to kind of, wait. I could just do that move, and then next week I could do Solanke and Cunha, who might have the ban by then, but either way, I embarks on a difficult run, and then do Solanke and Pedro in, because Pedro's got Brentford at home. In that week, so that hit might pay off quite quickly.
Potentially bring in Pedro. I just don't. Yeah, I'm off. I'm glad I didn't go João Pedro. I was very, very close. At Brighton are a puzzle for me. I just don't want to go there. But the Diallo move, I think I'd be very tempted to do that.
Seems to make sense, right? Given that he's going up, going forward.
Yeah, it grates on me that I don't want to do it, because we'll have a look at my team in a minute, but I think he's a player that, I mean, we've seen tonight again. The doubts are the fixtures and United, but he's just excelling at the moment. And I wonder if it's another Lingard situation where he's just going to go on an incredible run. His data's not amazing, and nor was Lingard's at the time, but he just had that run of what? I think he got 10 goals in 12, 13 games or something ridiculous. And Diallo's, it's the creativity as well. He got a goal and assist tonight, didn't he? Yeah.
Well, how many points am I behind you now? It's
35, 36.
Yeah, there's a gap opening between us, so I need to do something. And the fact you've got Isak is definitely a concern. I probably will do that. I probably will do that move tonight, actually, because then even if Cunha's banned, then I still bring in Rodgers for it. So I probably will just do that tonight before the rise.
It's interesting you're starting Rodgers and not Semenyo, because I've got that same issue. I'll go for my team first of all. Flecken, God, it'll be the last game he plays for me before Hassan comes in. He's at home to Forest as well, which I don't really want to play him in this, but I have no choice. Timber, Gabriel, Hall, I like, of course, that's okay. Saka, Salah, Gordon, Palmer, I like it. I think Gordon, it will be going up a level now, hopefully. It seems he's on the way to do that. I hope so. I've gambled on him because I easily could... that's the slot I could go to Diallo in, but I want to keep faith in Gordon. Cunha, Isak, Evan Nilsson. Evan Nilsson's a problem to me. I'm playing him over Rodgers, but it's very close. Evan Nilsson at United or Rodgers at home to City? What would you do there? The models say Evan Nilsson.
I'd play Rodgers. That's why I had Semenyo benched.
Yeah. It's the early kickoff, though. That's the thing as well. It shouldn't be a factor.
It is. Yeah, no, it's true.
But I think Bournemouth can score and will score at Old Trafford. And Evan Nilsson's numbers are still strong. Don't know. And it's just City, isn't it? It's like we expect City to flick the switch and get better at some point. It's going to happen. They'll go away from home. They'll dominate possession. They'll win 1-0, 2-0. This could be that game. Villa aren't in a great shape. They're not. They're not in a good place at the moment. So, I don't know. That's making me go with Evan Nilsson, but it's very, very close. But that's what I'm going with at the moment. Captaincy on Salah. The vice will be Isak, I think.
Yep.
I haven't made a transfer. I could do Cunha to Jimenez, and I am very tempted, ban or no ban, to go Cunha to Jimenez to get on Jimenez for that Southampton game. I do think if you look at Rob T's graphic and they're second favourite for expected goals in the game week according to the markets, I do think Fulham are more likely to score more goals than Wolves. It's just, yeah. And I do need Jimenez next week to get Alisson, so he's coming in next week regardless. Should I go a week early? That's the question. So I'm still toying with that one.
I mean, it is a better fixture, isn't it? I mean, it's a better fixture at home to Southampton than Leicester away, even though Leicester away is a good fixture. Yeah, I don't know. I'd be 50-50 on that.
Yeah, I think the fact that many people are going to hold Cunha makes me think I'll go Jimenez early, go on there early, because I've got to go to him next week, and I think he starts this one. It's hard to say, isn't it? That's the other thing. Is like if you look at the rotation between Muniz and Jimenez, and you look at this is the Legamane rotation, or basically this is the fixture rush that we've got over Christmas. And Fulham, if you look at it, they're down in this table, and the gap between the Liverpool-Southampton games has been big enough where he doesn't have to rest Jimenez. Jimenez can start this game. But Muniz came on and got the goal, and he spoke today, Marco Silva, about having two strikers in form. It's a great position to be in. There's no question Muniz will get a start. Either in Southampton, Chelsea or Bournemouth, he'll get a start. Now, the obvious place to rotate would be the middle fixture, but that's at Chelsea. It would be lovely as someone who's looking at Jimenez if he plays Southampton at home and Bournemouth at home and misses Chelsea, because obviously that would be the choice. But it could be the other way round. He could play Muniz at home to Southampton, play Jimenez at Chelsea, couldn't he? I don't know. How do you see that with the rotation?
I think he misses one of Southampton or Bournemouth.
Do you?
Jimenez. I think it's more likely to be Bournemouth.
Right.
If I'm being honest, because I think he's had a big break now between the last game. He was subbed off early in the last game anyway. I know Muniz came on and scored, but that doesn't always really matter. The team's playing well. Jimenez is a big part of that. Look at Pedro. Pedro came off and scored multiple goals off the bench in 2 games and then can't seem to get a goal when he is in the 11. It's not always the case of you're scoring, when you're off the bench and then suddenly you're scoring in the 11. Why would you change up a team where you're playing so well when everyone is, synced up really nicely? There's great chemistry between the forward line. So I think he keeps it for Southampton. And obviously, new manager, not really sure what you're going to get as well. Chelsea's a big game. And then he has those two, and then you give Muniz a chance against Bournemouth. Complete
just
speculation.
Cunha's got the pens and Jimenez doesn't with Pereira on the pitch as well. That's the other thing. You can see it going wrong, can't you? But yeah.
Have a red card. What if Cunha gets a red card? What does that mean for the ban?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, where's Cunha's head at as well? I guess with the new manager coming in. I mean, I think his role under the new manager, the way I've read it, the bit of research I've done in Pereira is he'll play out wide but tuck in almost as a 10 behind Strand Larsen. I think he'll be more central. He'll start out wide, but I think I looked at the way Pereira played James Rodriguez at Porto, and he played out wide but tucked in the 10 and was often right behind the striker. And I think that's the way he'll play Cunha. I think that's his best role. I don't think he plays out wide. I think he wants him central on the ball. So I think long-term Cunha could be fantastic. It's just the fixtures, as we said, really, really turn now after this Leicester game. So, right, Jimenez makes sense given Fulham's fixtures, which are very, very much better. Yeah,
it's very
not an easy player to sell, is he?
No, he's not. Well, unless he's banned, then it's
Well,
it's
the ban
really
makes
easy,
it easier, yeah.
but I wonder as well in Jan. I mean, if they do throw the book at him and he gets like a 9, 10, 11 game
It's
ban,
not going to be that, is it?
oh, it's
see
assault.
Man,
I don't know. I
so-
think it could be. I think they could go in hard.
You thinking
on him.
that? I'm thinking 3 or 4. You're thinking seriously
No,
big time.
I think it could be more. I think it's such a ridiculous reaction to. It's not on par with like Cantona's kung fu kick or anything like that, but it's still assaulting a non-playing member of staff. It's not like a referee. It's not a playing player. It's it's a bloody. I don't know.
He did put his glasses back on. Does that maybe get him a couple of matches back off?
I don't know.
It's not good, is it?
Look, maybe in the chat is saying 3 games tops. Fair enough. I think it's maybe I'm completely wrong. I think it could be 6 or more. That would be my guess. But what do I know? Very little.
Fair enough. So that's where we are this week. We got some super chats to look at though. So 4
have we?
came in.
Lovely.
Yeah, we have. I think this is.
There's Ahmad. Oh, I'm definitely bringing him in, aren't I? Let's just
There he is.
accept that.
This is Simon. This is Nigel the Crab, right?
Oh, Nigel, you've rebranded.
Yeah, rebranded, and he's given. We can tell it's him because he's given us money. Simon, please.
Thanks, Simon. I just want to give a shout out to Simon because he's been going for a bit of a rough time lately, and he's now back in the Patreon WhatsApp group. Great to have him back. Glad to hear that things have been going a bit better for you, Simon. Yeah, always one of our favourites.
He's not asked a question, but he's come up with. We have got to do a black box meetup. He's absolutely right.
Yeah.
He said we should do match of the day hot wings challenge. That'd be good.
He always wants to get you doing that. She wants to get you doing a.
So the three of us doing the match of the day challenge whilst doing hot wings. What do you reckon? Can we merge the two? Very difficult.
I don't ever want to do that again. I would love to see you try the bomb though. It was
I mean, listen, if I can do match of the day challenge again after some of the experiences I've had, then you can do the hot wings again. I'm up for it. I'm up for the hot wings match of the day combination to see where that gets us.
I'll pass that on to the boss. Yeah.
And we must do a black box meetup. Maybe we can squeeze it in before the New Year's. Just do something random quickly and then for the members. Well, why not? We'll try. It's worthwhile. Just find a pub somewhere and we'll put it in.
You couldn't even organise coming to mine in Hitchin this week, which you were going to do, let alone.
Yeah, but work. School's out on Tuesday. I'm working right up to Christmas Eve, but school's out on Tuesday.
Turn rounds. Here we go.
Absolutely. A super chat from thanks Simon for the super chat, by the way, and we will sort both of those events. Thomas Doherty, thank you very much for the super chat, Thomas. Is Virgil worth it for the 5 million? For the LT? For the LT? What's he mean there?
Over the 5 million for the LT. I'm trying to think what LT.
No, I don't know. What jargon is this?
It's going to be something really obvious, isn't it? It shows that we're just really old.
We're very landline. We're very landline at the moment, aren't we? We don't know what LT means. Are we not down with the kids? Late transfer? No. Don't know what that could be. But I mean, Van Dijk, if you're not going Trent and you can't get to Alisson, maybe you got Raya. He is the way to go, isn't he? Because I mean, Konate is on the way back, so we know that. I don't think he's back on grass yet.
Long term
for the long term.
Thank
Very
you.
Good.
Thanks, P.
I think he is worth it. I think that you've got to get a Liverpool defender for this run that they've got from 18. I think that run over the next 12 game weeks, I mean, even City away, they can go there and keep a clean sheet, I think. By then you'd think Pep would have sorted it out, but, even so. Home games are very strong. I think you look at Leicester United, Ipswich, Wolves, Newcastle, Southampton, there's probably 4 clean sheets in there, I would say.
Mm.
Now that
I might even be joining you on the Alisson train because it's around the same time. I mean, look at the Arsenal fixtures: Brentford away, Brighton away, Spurs, Villa. That's not a great 4. Then they've got Wolves, but then they've got City. I don't know. Those fixtures aren't amazing. I'm gonna say something controversial though. I would be picking Van Dijk over Trent.
You know what? Because as I say, if you go Alisson, you're covering the clean sheet. So then it comes down to attacking returns, and in terms of attacking returns so far this season, Trent has got 3 assists. in 1,000 minutes, which, you know, I was at that rate, maybe he's going to get to 10 double-figure assists. But if Van Dijk gets 3 more goals, 4 more goals, you're not far off, are you? And obviously the saving is significant. It's 1.5. Or just, it's $1 million, isn't it? I think. Is Van Dijk 6? I'd never look at Van Dijk, so I'm not absolutely sure what his price is.
I think he might be 6'5". I think he might be a bit more.
Is he even 6'5"? Okay, so the saving's not massive then, maybe. I mean, he would have gone down by now. Let's have a look. He's a player that I should look at.
Yeah, 6'5". He's 6'5".
Is he? Okay, so the saving's not that much now that Trent's still at 7 million. So it's the 0.5. That's what he was referring to, rather than 5. I like Van Dijk though, and I think if money is a problem, then going Van Dijk over Trent isn't as big a downgrade as perhaps we might think. We're all waiting for Trent to explode, aren't we? And I know a lot of managers went Trent last week, didn't pay off, didn't get the clean sheet. But if you look at the data here, 0.35, chances created 2.25 per 90. If you look at the last 6 though, we are seeing an upturn. Chances created for Trent 3.18. So his chances created per 90 is going up.
Yeah, but he did come off the bench and get 2 assists, didn't he?
Yeah,
like quite recently. So I think that kind of skews it a little bit.
Yeah, only 198 minutes in 6 game weeks as well. So we're not seeing a massive upturn in the data yet to suggest that Trent is going to justify 7 million. It's really weird because we spent weeks, didn't we, going, Trent's fading, he's fading, we've got to get rid. And it didn't take long for us to go, no, we need him back. It took about, it seemed like it took less than a month for us to go from, oh, we've got to get rid because there's cheap defenders and we're investing up front, to suddenly, oh no, we've got to get him back again because of Liverpool's run.
I know.
It seems weird, doesn't it? And it's like, a lot of managers have gone him and now can't afford to get to Isak and are going, oh, maybe I should have not done that. So there's a lot of pressure on Trent as a fancy asset to repay that. And I think I'm going Alisson, and if I wanted to double up on Liverpool, I would go Van Dijk. Yeah.
I'm very surprised that people were prioritising Trent over Isak, because I think it was quite obvious what we were getting from Isak, whereas Trent was always a bit of a bit more risky. I mean, I'm not saying in any way that you should copy my team and my team's a template. Look at my rank, look at my last few seasons. But if you just go to my team quickly, I have no interest in Trent because I actually really like the way my defence is set up at the moment. I like having Raya in goal. That could be Alisson. I like having Gabriel, that Arsenal defender. And then I like just having a load of 4 or 5 options that I can rotate. We've talked about them on this stream. You know, I've got Hall and Robinson in place. I can move Davis to Munoz. I could look at bringing Kirkes in for Moreno or Milenkovic. The points aren't in defence this season. So I just think going too heavy in defence just might limit you from having that Isak Jackson combination with Salah, Palmer, Saka, and you know, having some rotation options around the 5 billion option. I don't know. I like that setup of going a bit cheaper. Yeah. I had a lot of money in defence at the start of the season, and it didn't work, basically.
I mean, I love Trent. He's my favourite player, and I'd love to have him as well. But I think in terms of priorities, I think there are other defenders you can get that can produce on a level with him at the moment. And now, obviously, we're waiting for him to burst. We're waiting for him to get a 20-point haul or whatever. It could come. He will have that game, Leicester. I imagine. Yeah, he could do, right? So that will change everything. But we haven't seen it yet. And I don't think there's any question that he's not playing the same role he did before. I saw the other day, it was a cross came in. I can't remember who scored it. It was Szoboszlai provided the cross. And it was a typical area where Trent would normally be. And Trent was just behind Szoboszlai. So on that right-hand side, you've got Salah who's playing out wide a lot. So that's stopping the overlap. Trent's not getting behind him and overlapping. And on the underlap, you've got Szoboszlai the same side. When he plays, he's the one taking the short ball off Salah and providing the cross. So it's Trent's role under slot isn't quite enough yet for me to really fear him. I don't watch games and go, I'm absolutely petrified I don't have Trent. Not yet. It could come though, but I'm not scared enough to think I'll go him and forego someone like Isak. So I think there's something in going Van Dijk if you can't reach the Trent and you want to cover that Liverpool defence. But maybe Canate when he's back is the way to go because he is cheaper.
Yeah,
and he was doing well. How 900? Let's go back to the start screen. How 900? That's highly irregular, Dave. Thank you very much for your super chat. Free to start. Robinson, Enzo, Semenyo, Pedro and Evan Nilsson. I don't like these ones. Don't like these ones.
No.
You've got to start Robinson, so that's done. That's done.
Yeah.
That's in the bank. I would probably go Enzo. Would you at Everton? Who have Brighton got? Oh, Brighton are away at
West Ham. I think I'd go Robinson, Enzo, Pedro, and bench the 2 Bournemouth.
Yeah, that's what I would do. I think so. It's between Enzo and Evan Nilsson for me, but I would just favour Enzo. I mean,
yeah, so would I.
Depends. I mean, if he's got Jackson and Palmer, you are.
So you would play Evan Nilsson over Semenyo?
I would, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, probably favour the striker. It's kind of an annoying game where Semenyo's just going to get a brace, isn't it? Everyone's benched him or sold him, and he goes up to United.
Didn't he go off with a form of injury on Monday? And then
no,
he's not
it was muscle tightness. It's been confirmed, so it's not developed into anything. Yeah, he's fine.
Right. Straight down the tunnel he went. I was like,
Yeah,
I think I would just go Evan Nilsson over Semenyo. Yeah, play the striker. But the 3 I would go. I think you're right. Robinson, Enzo, and Pedro. I'd bench the 2 Bournemouth attackers. I think that that's the way I go. And then finally from Jerry, he's got a similar issue, very similar issue. Thank you very much for the super chat, Jerry. He's got Pedro, Evan Nilsson, Jackson, Enzo, or Mbeumo. Bench one of them.
You can't bench Jackson. You can't bench Mbeumo, I don't think.
Yeah, it's Evan Nilsson or Enzo again, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I'd just go Enzo.
Would you?
I'd go Enzo. I'd play Enzo and bench Evan Nilsson, I think.
Okay,
is that what you're
same.
saying?
Yeah.
Very
bench
close.
Evan Nilsson. Yeah.
But I just think that Chelsea's likelihood of goals is a bit higher. And Mbeumo against Forest, I mean, he's a quality player and they probably will score. And at home games, you've got to back him, haven't you? So there's no question there. You've got to play Jackson. Actually, he's got Jackson already, so maybe he does go Evan Nilsson. Maybe he's over-indexing on Chelsea if he's got Jackson and Enzo. Presumably, he's got Palmer too. So,
yeah, I suppose I would just not worry about that. I think who's the better option this week. I think Enzo versus Everton is better than Evan Nilsson versus United. I think it is tight though. It is close because United could easily concede a couple of goals and Chelsea could score a couple of goals. Enzo isn't involved. It is, it's tricky. No, I'm going to stick with it though.
Yeah, I'll stick with it as well.
Yeah,
we'll give you that. Yeah, it's bench Evan Nilsson then, Jerry. That's our answer.
Yep.
There we go. Super chat's done. 1,000 watching. Only 200 likes, so you know what to do. Hit the likes and hit the subscribes. Apologies for the tables. I will fix them for next time. That was just the last 6 compare tables, which I tried to dig out. I tried to dust off the defender one, but didn't. I spotted the error in that, but didn't fix it in time. Didn't spot the error in the other 2, so I will get those fixed.
It was only flipped round. It's fine.
Yeah, we had data in the other tables that was correct, of course, but when I bring a new table out, I need to be more thorough checking it, but I will get that sorted so we can call on them again. Lots of decisions now, and it still feels good. Yes, the game is more template over this period because of the 3 midfielders and because Haaland has declined so much. It would be nice if Haaland came back in and there was more managers looking that way. But I think when we looked at that captain matrix, we looked at this run from 18 and thought, we want to get back on Haaland. We're not, are we? We're going nowhere near him, are we?
No, and one of the main reasons why I was keeping him for so long and so reluctant to sell him was because of this run from 18. And there's absolutely no part of me that wishes I'd stuck to my guns and kept him with that. Which, I mean, it'd be if he does say he gets a hat-trick against. The thing is, he's going to need multiple returns in multiple games, isn't he? Like a hat-trick against Everton isn't going to be enough. He's still going to need to score in. City going to have to look better in consecutive games for us to even consider going back. So I don't really think anyone's going to be going back to him. Even over this good run in this period. Which is a shame because I think if Haaland was an option for us, it would make the game more interesting given this.
Oh
price.
yeah, well that's what I'm saying. It would be great for the game and for the season if he did turn it on over that run and made us think again. Because at the moment we seem very much, committed to those 3 mids, and then obviously that leads to the conversation about the other 2 midfield slots. Isak is emerging as a primary striker
Yeah.
option if you don't have Haaland. I think that's settling down. The other two striker spots are still up for grabs, particularly with the Cunha ban now. That will shake that up, and we looked at that tonight. And I do think those 4 or 5 defenders, there's a little bit of upside in those, which is nice to have as well. So the season is still, there's still choice, there's still alternatives, and we're still seeing variety in mini leagues and across ranks. So it's delivering on that, and I think it will get even better in the new year. This run over Christmas, though, it's lovely, isn't it, having so much football? And Boxing Day is just, was it 5 games on Boxing Day? What are you doing there? Are you just staying in for the whole shebang?
Yeah, absolutely. Boxing Day is the best day of the year, isn't it? I feel sorry for anyone who's not into football and has to watch their significant others just sit glued in front of the TV. It's my favourite day of the season. The Boxing Day and Gameweek 38, when you can just watch all the games at once. They're just two highlights for me.
It's funny. I've got a ticket to Forest Spurs, which I'll give to my cousin. He can go. But I said to Pip, "Can I go to the football on Boxing Day?" And she said, "Hey, that's a family day." And I was like, "Oh yeah, you're right. It's a family day." And in my head, I was going, "It's a family day in which I'm going to spend all day watching 5 football matches."
Yeah. Or Pip runs around cleaning and getting rid of all the present wrapper.
She's going to say to me, "You might as well have gone to the football because
Definitely.
all we've done is watch the football." But what can you do? It's like, it's very difficult.
Or you'll get so annoyed with something and so frustrated, you'll be like, "Oh, can you just go see Forest? Come on."
No, I've given my ticket away now. So
have you? Okay.
It'd be a good game as well, and I'm sure James from Planet FPL's going. And last time I went with him, they had Kane and they beat us quite easily, but be a very good game on Boxing Day.
Yeah, it'd be a much closer game this time.
But yeah, Christmas and fantasy football is a perfect marriage made in heaven, isn't it? And it is. Our rivalry, hopefully you can close the gap and it gets a bit more spicy.
I need to. I'm going to be relying on the poster boy for this episode, I think.
We didn't look at great and the good, but that's the difference. It's 33 points.
33.
Yeah. A big gap in rank considering it's 33. That doesn't sound like a big gap in terms of rank, but 700,000 places between us.
You've got the team value on your side as well. I think you've got about 1 million more than me in team value. So I'm going to have to be shrewd to close this gap.
Indeed. Just before we go, we haven't checked in these for a while, the Black Box Leagues, so we should do that. I can't pronounce the first name, so I'm going to let you read through these names, Az.
that has been my job in the past. Alex Hick-Jolan is top with a lovely team name, Blueberries.
Very nice.
Very sweet. 1,153 points. Bloody hell. That is nearly 200 points more than I've got.
Don't do it to yourself. Don't depress yourself.
Unbelievable. Chris Moss in second, 23 points behind. We've got Jake Poplawski.
Yeah,
Maybe
Poplawski.
Polish,
I'll go with that.
Poplawski. In third, Raider Buscanez in fourth, Andy Whiteley in fifth, David Westrop in sixth, Ben Atherton in seventh, Luke Armitage in eighth. I've seen that name before. I think he's been top of these leagues in previous seasons. I remember the name Luke Armitage. Ninja FPL in ninth, and Stu Green rounding up the top 10, all with substantially more points than we've got, Mark.
And the Godfather tier league, we got Rob McCritchie top 1063, Jeremiah Johnson 1051, Krista Tansevsky 1049, then Planet FBL's James 1039. He's still there.
Yeah.
He did slip a few weeks, but he's still there. Jose De La Roca 1039, Ryan Mendelssohn 1030, Ken Meyer 1026, Jeff Turner 1025, Jonathan Tingate 1024, and James Rule 1116. Very tight there, isn't it, between 10 and first place?
Yeah, I'm just glad you're not in the top 10.
Yeah, I was in that top 10 a lot last season. I've got quite a way to go before I can get in there again. I think I'm 24th, so I'm not too bad. Yeah, 24th. Momentum is with me. I'll see if I can make a dent in that and catch up. But yes, well played to all those managers. We will follow you throughout the season and bring that in more often. It's just Merry Christmas now, because we're not going to be back before Christmas Day.
No.
We've got to work out how we're going to do the Christmas period and what we're going to do. So we'll try and get some streams in over that. It'll be nice to do something post-Boxing Day to see how your Boxing Day went.
You might be running solo on that unless I can dial in from a laptop. I'm going to be all over Essex and visiting my parents who now live in Hove for some reason, and all stuff. So I can take my laptop and I might be able to dial into something. But
we'll figure something out. I do want to do some videos over Christmas. Keep my hand in. I've got the green screen out, and I threatened to use that, so I will do some things to keep in touch with BlackBox over Christmas as well. But I guess we have to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, and thank you very much for your support tonight and over the year so far.
Absolutely. Thank you to everyone watching. Thanks to all our Patreon members who've got involved in the Predictions League and all the WhatsApp group and Discord that we've got. Do check that out if you're interested in getting involved in that in the second half of the season. Thanks to everyone watching, everyone for getting involved in Sleeper, all the people who have bought Manscaped products using our code.
For Christmas.
It's so for Christmas, exactly. So many ways to support the stream. And yeah, and if you haven't already, you can give us one final Christmas present, early Christmas present, by liking the stream if you haven't already, and writing us a review if you're listening to this on the podcast.
It's Merry Christmas and a good night from me.
Merry Christmas and good night from me too.